51. Ishida Sorikari's words directly shocked Ishida Dadong and Ishida Yuto. 20. Patriarch, you made a mistake. Ishida Dadong shook his head and said calmly, without showing any other expressions because Ishida Sakari said something wrong. However, Ishida Yuwata next to him turned suspicious. Is it the Ancestor? After hesitating for a moment, Ishida Yuto asked aloud. Ishida Dadong has already received a reward from Ishida's ancestors, and he already knew about it, so he didn't hide it from the other party. Ancestor? Hearing Ishida Youngdu's question, Ishida Dadong was startled. He just remembered that this Ishida family can't figure it out with the mentality of ordinary people. But even if it's the ancestors, it's fine to reward 1 or 2 magical props. Could it be that the old man can make people directly upgrade to the level of Jōnin out of thin air? Immediately afterwards, Ishida Dadong frowned and asked with some doubts. After all, he hadn't experienced the scene where Ishida Xinkai purchased the 2nd level upgrade at that time. So for him, directly making people reach Jōnin, and it is still 20.5 a month, even the heroic water of the land of Taki would not be able to do it. The Ancestor did not show up recently, but it is true that 20 ninjas have come to me in private. I told them to keep quiet so as not to disturb the Daming Mansion. Ishida Sorikari grinned and explained to the 2 of them aloud. However, they are all Chakra who have been promoted to the Jōnin level, and their combat experience and skills are still far behind. It is estimated that they can only be equivalent to the Chunin of the 5 great nations. Ishida Sorikari paused for a moment, then continued. Not only Ishida Xinkai, he also found these disadvantages. Insufficient combat experience and skills? Hearing what Ishida Sorikari said, Ishida Dadong suddenly realized that it would be really unbelievable if even combat experience and skills could be increased out of thin air. Of course, raising the chakra of 20 ninjas to the level of Jōnin in just half a month is already a sensation in the ninja world. So, I plan, when they are about to attack Sinong City, lead people to outflank the Daming Mansion's army from the rear, cooperate with Sinong City's army, and directly swallow the 100,000 soldiers. Ishida Sorikari glanced at the 3 of them before continuing. Just do as you said, Patriarch. I'll call the samurai. Nodding, Ishida Dadong said excitedly with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. But just as he got up, he was stopped by Ishida Sorikari. You don't have to go. Ishida Sorikari spoke, speaking slowly. Huh, don't you believe us, Patriarch? Hearing Ishida Sara's words, Ishida Dadong paused, and immediately turned around, frowning, and said unwillingly. But Ishida Sorikari shook his head. Ishida's house needs someone to guard it. Yuto and I will dispatch most of the ninjas to leave, so the defense of Ishida's house will become empty. I need you, Brother Dadong, to help guard Ishida's house and the shrine of the ancestors. Ishida Sorikari said unhurriedly. Obviously, his ancestors have already rewarded each other with precious swords, which means that everyone is already a family, and of course he will not question and exclude each other. He found that when Ishida Dadong used the Zanpakuto, he still felt great pressure even if he turned on the Sharingan. Ishida Dadong was obviously more suitable for stationing Ishida's house. I thought the kid would stay at home and give advice. That's fine. With 20,000 soldiers from Sinong City to swallow the opponent's 100,000 troops, although I have a big appetite, isn't that what my descendants of Ishida Xinkai should do? Ishida Xinkai had a panoramic view of the conversation between the 3 of them. Although it was a little new to what he thought, Ishida Sorikari's decision was still approved by Ishida Xinkai. At the same time, it also made Ishida Xinkai feel that he really overwhelmed the strategizing state. Soon, it was almost evening, and the army of the Daming Mansion of the Tianji Kingdom arrived outside Sinong City early. Although it was not dark yet, they had already begun to eat the dry food they carried with them. Definitely be wary. Your Highness, the Ishida family still has no reinforcements. It seems that they have given up on Sinong City. A spy came to report that the people in Sinong City were in panic now, and it couldn't be easier to inquire about the news inside. But there is one thing he didn't say, that is, all the troops in Sinong City gathered behind the city wall, as if they were going to fight them to the death. Sinong City has only 2 gates. One leads to the direction of Ishida's house, and the other is where they are blocking. It is quite normal for Sinong City to transfer all the troops here. Hee, it seems that I still underestimated the Ishida family. Maybe they also guessed that Ishida's family will have enemies today. Shinji Tanaka sneered and looked indifferently at the Sinong City in front of him. As long as he led his troops to capture the Sinong City, the Ishida family would be handed over to the ninjas of the Fire Nation. The reputation can definitely reach the peak. Get ready, Start lighting the fire an hour later, and prepare to attack at the same time. Shinji Tanaka said plainly that he had already made all plans for attack. Lord Maimong, the Patriarch has sent a message that they have already circled to the enemy's rear. Let us lead our troops out of the city after a stick of incense. They will bring 200 Chunin and 20 Jōnin to attack from behind the enemy. Kitano Taro received a message from Ishida Xinkai to send a ninja, and quickly said to Ishida Maimong, 20 Jōnin? Ishida Maimong was taken aback and stared at Kitano Taro. He wondered if the other party was wrong. That's right, 20 Jōnin. Hearing Ishida Maimong's question, Kitano Taro also twitched his eyes. He also asked the servant of Ishida's family who summoned him the same way. In Ishida's home, Ishida Xinkai, who was floating above the shrine with one finger, looked to the south. Sure enough, someone is here. At the same time, Ishida Datong, who was guarding the Ishida's mansion, also felt the soft beep of Sengoku in his hand, and looked towards the south with a heart. 52. In the woods made by Ishida Xinkai outside Ishida's home, Hatake Sakumo, known as Konoha's White Fang, is leading a team of people lurking inside. All eyes were on Ishida's house, which had started to light up ahead. After dark, launched the super-large ninjutsu directly. Hatake Sakumo looked ahead and said to the others calmly. He has performed quite a few missions like this, and compared to the families or villages he had destroyed in other missions, the Ishida family's security is simply poor. It is said that the ninja family must at least have scout ninjas who are constantly watching the surroundings, but the Ishida family only has some samurai with swords on their waists guarding them. Although he really wanted to ask what is the origin of the Ishida family, which can make Danzo pay so much attention, but he also knew that the members of the next few routes must not know. Suddenly, Hatake Sakumo doubted, and a group of samurai suddenly came out of the gate of Ishida's house, as if there was something urgent, rushing towards this side in a hurry. Could it be discovered? Hatake Sakumo said in surprise. That's impossible. We didn't even use the chakra when we came here. I'm sure no one noticed us. Behind Hatake Sakumo, a person suddenly spoke. Under the mask of that person was a pair of white pupils. The pupils were dilated, and the veins around the eye sockets were protruding, and he said seriously. But as his voice fell, Ishida Datong had already brought the ninja out of the woods and stopped. Come out, you have been found. Ishida Datong pressed his right hand on the handle of the knife at his left waist, and said calmly, I don't know whether it's the spirit of the samurai or the confidence in his own strength, but Ishida Datong did not directly launch a bombing attack on the ninjas in the forest. Hearing Ishida Sorikari's words, Hatake Sakumo didn't speak, just lowered his body. Seeing that the other party could not come out, Ishida Datong and the others suddenly had kunai with detonating charms tied on their hands. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than a dozen kunai were thrown into the forest, followed by a series of explosions. And the 5 ninjas headed by Hatake Sakumo were also forced out. Konoha's White Fang? A ninja from the land of fire. Looking at the figure of Hatake Sakumo, Ishida Datong fixed his eyes and recognized the other party's identity at a glance. The title of Hatake Sakumo has been resounded all over the world, and the title of Konoha's White Fang even rang out his real name. As a first-class swordsman, Ishida Datong naturally knows each other. However, Hatake Sakumo didn't speak, and directly grabbed a handful of white chakra short sword, which instantly illuminated his cheeks, and quickly rushed towards Ishida Da. And the members of the other routes also didn't say a word, and they all rushed to the surrounding warriors on their own initiative. Seeing this, Ishida Datong's heart suddenly sank. I didn't expect that the enemy of Ishida's family would be Konoha, the land of fire, and the other party even sent Konoha's White Fang to attack Ishida's family. This made Ishida Datong pay more attention to the Ishida family. Whether a family is strong or not, in addition to its background, there are also its enemies. Thinking that his future enemy may be Konoha, the country of fire, Ishida Datong is actually faint look forward to it. Although the appearance of Konoha's White Fangya made Ishida Datong feel the pressure, but it was more of a fighting spirit. I've wanted to fight you for a long time. Ishida Datong took a deep breath, said something, and at the same time drew his own Zanpakuto. The moment Sengoku was pulled out, Ishida Datong immediately felt that he and Sengoku in his hand had merged into one, and his heart was even more shocked. This is the real enemy. At this moment, Ishida Datong has a completely different feeling from when he tested Zanpakuto before, because he was not an enemy at that time, and Ishida Datong always dared not use some ultimate moves, but now there is no need to worry about it. Clang! The long knife collided with the short sword, and the two retreated respectively. After standing still, Hatake Sakumo's face was solemn. He felt that the knife had always given him a strong sense of oppression. He had this feeling before, that is, when he faced various powerful enemies, but he had never faced a single one, bringing the weapon ever so felt. On the other hand, Hatake Tsukumo's face became more and more calm. He was now ready to unearth the true power of Zanpakuto. I saw Ishida Xinkai put the blade vertically upwards on his chest, and his face became serious. It's about to start. Ishida Xinkai in the distance is sitting on the roof, looking at Ishida Xinkai from a distance. At the same time, seeing Ishida Xinkai's posture, Hatake Tsukumo's heart tightened inexplicably. Stop him! This thought instantly controlled Hatake Tsukumo's actions. Whether it was intuition or combat experience, they kept telling him that he must stop the opponent before he released it. The short sword in Hatake Tsukumo's hand became more and more dazzling and rushed towards Ishida Xinkai, almost turning into a long silver line. But Ishida Xinkai is obviously faster. I saw Ishida Xinkai looking at Hatake Tsukumo, who was rushing towards him with a calm expression. A terrifying aura burst out of him instantly, and then he murmured softly, "Scatter, Senbenzakura." In an instant, the blade of the sword glowed with a pink-purple light, and then quickly split into pieces like sakura flower petals. Shards fell from the sky and swayed in the wind, looking very much like sakura flowers falling in the spring breeze. 53. At the moment, Hatake Tsukumo has no time to admire the scattered pink sakura flowers. He just wants to finish the task and get out of here as soon as possible, because just now, he seemed to feel an inexplicable gaze, an indescribable gaze, as if it came from all directions. Hatake Tsukumo's heart is already in a mess, and even his fighting power can't be fully displayed. Soon, as he approached Ishida Xinkai, the first sakura flower fell on Hatake Tsukumo. Something weird happened. The seemingly limp sakura flower ran across Hatake Tsukumo's cheek, leaving a line of blood in an instant, followed by a string of blood beads oozing out of it. The pain on his face made Hatake Tsukumo stop for an instant, but at this moment, he found that he was surrounded by flying petals. What's this? Looking at the dense petals around him, Hatake Tsukumo knew that these petals were real sharp blades. Seeing this kind of attack for the first time made Hatake Tsukumo feel extremely depressed. Admit defeat. Looking at Hatake Tsukumo surrounded by petals in front of him, Ishida Xinkai said calmly. He is also the first time to release Senbenzakura's Shurkai, did not expect this knife to be so amazing. After Shurkai, his Ryatsu was also activated and reached the level of vice captain. He could clearly feel every move of Hatake Tsukumo. Konoha's ninjas only failed in missions and did not admit defeat. For Ishida's persuasion, Hatake Tsukumo snorted coldly, kicked his feet, and rushed out directly against the petals. And as a price, Hatake Tsukumo is now bloody. The petals that were just in front of him suffered hundreds more, that is to say, there are at least 100 wounds on Hatake Tsukumo's body now. But for Hatake Tsukumo, although the cost is a bit painful, it is enough, because there is no obstacle in front of him and Ishida Xinkai. Seeing Hatake Tsukumo's obsession, Ishida Xinkai didn't say much. He just looked at each other calmly, with a hint of ridicule flashing in his eyes. Then I saw Ishida Xinkai's wrist moved. Those petals floated back quickly and caught up with Hatake Tsukumo in the blink of an eye. In an instant, it was surrounded again. This time, the petals did not flutter randomly, but aimed at Hatake Tsukumo in the middle. Finally, for the first time in his life, Hatake Tsukumo's eyes revealed despair. Ishida Xinkai didn't give him another chance, just flicked his wrist. Those sakura flower instruments are drawn towards the middle. Countless pieces of sakura flowers cut into Hatake Tsukumo's body from every corner of Hatake Tsukumo's body in an instant. In just an instant, Hatake Tsukumo cut off the breath of life. Not only the body, but also the soul was directly shattered by Senbenzakura, which can hurt the soul. Immediately afterwards, Hatake Tsukumo flew out like a huge, human-shaped cocoon, with scarlet blood petals swarming out. The flying sakura flowers became more colorful, and those sakura flowers, like a swarm of bees, quickly flocked to the other 4 members of Konohagin under the command of Ishida Xinkai. Each of those ninjas had to face 3 to 4 samurai, even though they were Konoha's elites, but facing so many samurai comparable to Chunin, they were suppressed for a while, and they couldn't even release their ninjutsu. And a ninja who can't release ninjutsu is not even as good as a samurai. The ninjas of the 4 roots were beaten and retreated steadily. They still don't understand how the other party found them. As Konoha's assassination force, their concealment ability is absolutely top-notch, and even Kage level has a hard time finding them. They don't know that Ishida Dodong, who owns Zanpakuto, also has his own Ryatsu. Although he is not tyrannical in the unliberated state, he can feel the strange soul from the outside world through Zanpakuto. But they are destined to never know in this life. The sakura flowers flew out like a swarm of bees, and after joining the battlefield, they filed in from above and rushed directly towards a ninja. The root ninja, who was restrained by the 4 samurai, didn't realize it and was pierced by sakura flower on the spot. Without even screaming, the ninja died on the spot. The samurai also noticed that Zanpakuto, which only had a handle left in Ishida Dodong's hand, suddenly shrank their pupils, guessing that these sakura flowers were controlled by Ishida Dodong, and immediately went to help contain the other 3 ninjas. After Ishida Dodong killed the remaining 3 Konoha root ninjas and exited from the shurikai state, he was already soaked in sweat. He could feel that although the method just now was powerful, it also consumed a lot of his body. With physical support, he can only maintain the shurikai state for 10 minutes at most, and the body will also suffer some damage. Let's use the spirit body in the future. The physical body is too heavy to carry out shurikai. Taking a deep breath, Ishida Dodong finally understood why the ancestor of Ishida gave himself the thing called Yainwen. In the Sinong city side, the troops of the Daming Mansion were all gnawing on the dry rations they had brought, and they all knew that when Sinong City began to eat at dark, it was the time for them to attack. At this time, the gate of Sinong City suddenly opened, and under the leadership of Ishida Maimong and Kitano Taro, well-equipped warriors began to run out of Sinong City with shouts. The sound of shouting to kill resounded all over the outside of Sinong City in an instant, and also alarmed the army of Daming Mansion who were eating dry food, and even many people were so frightened that they choked. Report to His Royal Highness, the army of Sinong City has taken the initiative to go out of the city to fight. The scout quickly reported the movement of Sinong City to the daimyo Shinji Tanaka. Okay, I was thinking of a sneak attack, but I didn't expect them to come out on their own initiative, and everyone will fight immediately. Hearing what the scout said, Shinji Tanaka was not surprised but pleased. He immediately laughed and said loudly, "Boom." However, since this was hindered, there was a sudden explosion sound from the rear of the army, and then the flames shot up into the sky, and huge fire dragons raged and galloped in the army. Reporting to Your Highness, there have been a large number of ninja raids in the rear and sides of our army. Before the daimyo could figure out what was going on, another scout nervously came to report. 54. What? Why are there still ninja attacks? Have you confirmed the identity of the other party? Hearing the scout's report, Shinji Tanaka's expression changed immediately, and he asked loudly, "It's the Ishida family, and they all have the Ishida family armbands." The scout was also taken aback by the daimyo's gaffe, so naturally he didn't dare to hesitate and quickly reported respectfully, "A ninja from the Ishida family?" When the scout spoke, everyone was shocked. The rise of the Ishida family has had a big impact on the entire Tanakuni. Originally, they thought that the little Ishida family would not dare to confront their official army, but obviously, their estimation was wrong. Ishida's family only has 2 or 3 jonins, and the total number of chunins is no more than 100. How could it cause such a big commotion? Soon, Shinji Tanaka's military advisor questioned, frowning and asking in a strange way. But no one answered. His Royal Highness, those troops from Sinong City, stay put, and leave the ninjas of the Ishida family to us. At this time, several ninjas with Cloud Shinobi Village forehead protector came out. Although the Country of Fire has agreed to help solve the Ishida family, after all, no one can say for sure what happened on the battlefield. To be on the safe side, as Shinji Tanaka mentioned, the nobles of the country of Tanaka jointly contributed money from the Country of Thunder. A group of ninjas were hired to deal with the situation where the ninjas from Ishida's family joined the war. After all, ninjas who can release large-scale ninjutsu are all mobile forts, and the damage caused on the battlefield is far beyond that of ordinary samurai. So before the 5 shadow talks, ninjas were high-end combat power, and ordinary samurai were almost all cannon fodder. Okay, Mr. Tutai, you have won the title of Master Raikage, and the ninjas of the Ishida family will be handed over to you. Seeing the ninja from Cloud Shinobi Village come out, Shinji Tanaka breathed a sigh of relief and said hastily. At the same time, the army from Sinong City had rushed over, and the Daming Mansion also showed off their heavy bed crossbows and giant kunai launchers. Whoosh! Whoosh! There was a sound of piercing the air, and those huge bed crossbows and giant kunai launchers shot out a series of raised javelins and countless giant kunai bigger than people. Wherever they passed, the warriors of Sinong City were cut in half. In an instant, Hundreds of people were killed or injured by those heavy long-range weapons. The opponent's weapons are much better than ours. Once he is caught off guard by those heavy crossbows, even Jōnin may be angry on the spot. Looking at the gap that was opened in an instant, Kitano Taro looked solemn. No matter in terms of numbers or equipment, Senong City could not compare with the army of Daming Prefecture. Ishida Maimong also had a serious face. Seeing that the opponent was going to continue shooting, he quickly started to pinch. The birth of the tree realm. Ishida Maimong clasped her hand tightly, and the ground suddenly trembled. Immediately afterwards, the ground cracked, and countless vines sprang up from it like a long dragon. What is that? Seeing a sea of trees made of vines appear in front of them for a moment, those warriors who were about to continue firing heavy spears stopped and looked ahead in fear. In their understanding, ninjutsu is mostly fire and water mines. What the hell is the sea of trees that suddenly looks like a living thing? However, those vines did not give the other party time to think. After the vines sprang out from the ground, they began to rush towards the army of the Daming Mansion. The huge vines seemed to be like tentacles, and directly swept away the heavy armored warrior holding the shield in front. Then he continued to beat down the warriors behind him, launch kunai and smash them. Seeing the raging vines, the commander of the Daming Mansion quickly reacted and said loudly. In the next moment, countless sounds of piercing through the air sounded, and one after another of black kunai rushed into the vines, and after only cutting off a few vines, they were covered by those vines. Then, under the control of Ishida Maimong, those vines instinctively held the giant kunai and threw it towards the kunai launcher. Those giant kunai weighed hundreds of caddies. How could those ordinary warriors dare to stop them? They could only let those vines throw kunai into the army. Fire! Fire the rockets and burn these things. The commander was not a fool, so he continued immediately. Not long after, rockets flew out from behind and landed on the vines, quickly igniting them. However, the vines did not back down after burning. Instead, they rushed into the army of Daming Mansion directly against the flames, and the flames on them became a sharp weapon for the vines to break through the army's defense line. Looking at the sea of trees forest that appeared like Kimui from behind, the troops of Senong City behind were all fighting with high spirits, and they all rushed towards the troops of the Daming Mansion without any worries before. The warriors who rushed to the front were worshipping Ishida Xinkai and the Ishida family. Their high level of belief made them less worried about the orders of the Ishida family. They only hoped to complete the tasks of the Ishida family with all their strength. Because of the appearance of the sea of trees and vines, the defense line formed by the army of Daming Mansion was breached in an instant, and the burning vines continued to wreak havoc among the army of Daming Mansion. And the army of Senong City began to nibble away at the separated enemy troops on the periphery. As for the rear of the 100,000 troops in Daming Mansion, it appears even more dire. Ishida Xinkai is firmly in the middle of the command. 20 Jōnin collectively released super-large ninjutsu, and the turbulent flames galloped crazily in the army, and those warriors were powerless to resist. Ishida Yongdu even relied on the elusive thread escape to release countless silk thread traps that were as sharp knives. Countless samurai were all strangled by those silk threads in the process of approaching this side. At the same time, Ishida Yongdu did not forget to use the Super Strike Twisting Whip, and the long whip formed by countless thin threads killed the quartet among the troops of the famous mansion. The ninjas of Cloud Shinobi Village stopped immediately when they saw the surging sea of flames and the flickering silk threads behind them. The information given by Tianjigua was wrong. There are at least a dozen Jōnin here. The mission failed. They retreated and left here directly. The leader Cloud Shinobi's expression changed, and he murmured that Cloud Shinobi, who had vowed to stop Ishida's family, actually disappeared among the warriors and left here. 55. The hired Cloud Shinobi Village ninja took advantage of the chaos and left. With no other ninja to contend with, even the heavy weapons that could threaten Jōnin are on the front lines. Under the explosive battle formation composed of hundreds of ninja servants of the Ishida family led by Ishida Sora, those samurai could not get close at all, and they used various ninjutsu to kill, especially in the rear army of the Daming Prefecture. Senong City is also in chaos now. The active attack of the Sinongsheng army made those noble gentry who had not surrendered in secret immediately seize the opportunity. Unaware of the battle situation outside, they began to send people to spread the dazzling light, which made the people in Senong City even more panicked. However, Ishida Sorikari had already made preparations. He kept telling Kitano Taro to send his confidants to stare at those apparently obedient families, and he planned to take advantage of this crusade against the daimyo mansion to force those people out. After all, Ishida Kongsho also knew that having these people in Sinong City must be a disaster for their Ishida family. Those noble gentry who are obedient and vigilant do not know now that from the moment Ishida Konkari gained a state of strategizing, they have all been counted by Ishida Konkari, and the only reason to station Ishida Maemong a Jōnin in Sinong City is to give them the illusion that the Ishida family was invincible. Now they are so eager to jump out. When the army of Tanakuni Daimyo is wiped out, Ishida Konkari will be the first to attack them. In the command tent of the Daming Mansion army. What to do? What to do? What about the ninjas from the Land of Fire? Didn't they say that the ninjas from the Ishida family were handed over to them? Why did they appear behind our army? Also, what about the Cloud Shinobi we hired? Those guys belong to Cloud Shinobi Village anyway. Why didn't there even be a thunder? Tanaka Shinji no longer had the confidence he had before, and the constant news from the front and rear made him even more uneasy. Because of Ishida Maemong's with style support on the front line, the emergence of large-scale forests not only made the long-range heavy weapons brought by the Daming Prefecture army useless, but even those raging giant vines continued to increase the casualties of the Daming Prefecture. Especially after being ignited, the sea of trees turned into a sea of flames that could be manipulated by Ishida Maemong, which made the warriors lose their fighting spirit. As for the rear, not to mention, Jōnin alone reached the top 20. Although forcibly spawned by Ishida Xinkai, the ability to fight alone is not even as good as those special Jōnin from the 5 great nations. But the power of ninjutsu released by Chakra at the level of Jōnin is completely worthy of the real Jōnin of the 5 great nations. If it weren't for the fact that Ishida's family didn't have S-level ninjutsu handed down, I'm afraid the battle would have ended. A group of think tanks in the Daming Mansion are also shrinking their heads at this moment, and no one dares to say a word. The front and rear have been outflanked, and there are strong ninjas around. They no longer dare to make a decision lightly. At this time, I can only look at Shinji Tanaka. Currently, there are only 2 options. One is to choose the front or rear to break out. The second is to surrender directly. After all, ninjas still need ninjas to deal with them. The ninja families in their country have been besieged by the previous generation of daimyo, and even those who survived have now joined the Ishida family. Instead, Tianjigwa has no ninja support. It would be fine if the number of ninjas was small, but there were hundreds of ninjas, and there were a few or even a dozen Jōnin sitting in the town, plus there were 20,000 Sinong City troops watching over them. They were really at the end of their attack. The group of think tanks could think that Shinji Tanaka was not a fool to be able to become a daimyo among so many heirs of the Tanaka family, and he certainly understood this. Now Shinji Tanaka has scolded his cousin, who was a famous name of the previous generation in his heart. They wanted to wipe out the ninja family, but the ninja family did not break down, but instead established such a powerful enemy. The 3 families of Kami, Nakatani, and Chimori had a big enmity with the Ishida family before they took refuge in the Sinong City Lord's mansion, and it has been wiped out. Now, even if the ninja family of Tianjigwa has heirs, not to mention hating the Daming Mansion, it is impossible for them to join the Daming Mansion again. Gritting his teeth, Tanaka Shinji finally made a decision when he thought of the ferocious ninja team behind him. Crush the front and forcibly break into Sinong City. As long as we enter Sinong City, we still have a chance. Shinji Tanaka can only choose this one at the moment. He is not like those think tanks. Those guys may have a chance to survive if they surrender, but as the main messenger, he will definitely be used by the Ishida family to sacrifice to heaven. Besides, he is not willing to give up his hard-earned status, a great name in a country. It doesn't mean that he can give up just by giving up. Schwa. Boom. However, Shinji Tanaka's decision had just been made, and before it was even conveyed, everyone felt a flash of silver, and there was a violent sound in the tent. I saw that the entire tent was cut in half by something, and a smooth gully appeared all the way to the ground. The gully kept looking outward, and at the end of the gully, Ishida Yuto looked here with a stern face. The army at the rear of the entire camp was enveloped in a sea of flames, and ninja figures were constantly approaching. There were already samurai around who rushed towards Ishida Yuto, but before they got close, the bodies of those samurai were split into several petals strangely. Some of the top samurai saw with their sharp eyesight that there were silk threads all over Ishida Yongdu's body that were constantly changing positions, which were tightened under the guidance of Chakra. And those warriors were cut by those Chakra threads. The shouts of killing from the front line also became clear, and the warriors around the camp finally realized that the 100,000 troops they had come with had been engulfed by the sea of flames rising from the front and back. Escort! Escort! Watching Ishida Yuto's indifferent eyes, Shinji Tanaka shouted quickly. But at this time, An arrow burning with black flames shot from behind Ishida Yuto. As if there was no entity, the arrow passed through the warriors standing in front of him out of thin air, solidified instantly in front of Shinji Tanaka, and pierced directly into Shinji Tanaka's chest. Before Yin Luo's soul-chasing arrow spell broke out, the Tianjigwa daimyo had already died on the spot. 56. His Royal Highness is dead? Seeing Shinji Tanaka die directly, the guards next to him suddenly widened their eyes, unable to accept the facts in front of them. But it was true, so why did he question it? The name of Tianjigwa is dead, and those who surrender will not be killed. Ishida Sora also immediately seized the opportunity, took a deep breath, and then shouted loudly. Hearing Ishida Sorakari's words, those samurai who had already hesitated froze in place. Immediately afterwards, everyone's eyes turned towards the tent, only to find that the think tanks who used to be at the top of the Daming Mansion were already kneeling on the ground at this moment. You guys, the Daming Mansion treats you well, and you actually surrendered right now? Looking at those wimpy and useless think tanks, Tianjigwa's soldiers and horses suddenly changed their expressions and shouted angrily. There are also many generals around with angry faces. Obviously, they don't intend to surrender so easily, but as soon as his voice fell, he heard a piercing sound in his ear. Immediately afterwards, before he could look back, a blood hole appeared on his head. The other generals stared, and their pupils shrank a little. They didn't expect that a person who was still alive just now died like this. For a moment, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Those generals wanted to surrender, but it was already too late. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the distance, Ishida Yongdu kept throwing bullet strings from his fingertips, and the vital points of those generals were pierced one by one. A few seconds later, all the officers in the army were shot dead on the spot by Ishida Yuto's surprise attack. Such a method immediately made the rest of the people terrified, and no one dared to hesitate any longer. Wow! After a messy noise, the rest of the army, like wheat waves, put down their weapons and fell to their knees on the ground. At the same time, white flags were raised in the army. Noticing the appearance of the white chests, the warriors who had already been massacred immediately gave up their resistance. And this kind of scene also shocked the Sinongshin army who had just entered the enemy's mansion. When they noticed the raging flames in the distance, they realized that the enemy's rear had already been attacked. Originally, everyone thought that the 20,000 city guards would face the 100,000 well-equipped Tianjigwa's army, and it was a doomsday situation, but the result of the matter was greatly unexpected. The joy of victory made all the troops in Sinong City almost jump for joy. 20,000 defeated 100,000. Although there were ninja support in the middle, this was already a great honor for them. Soon, the samurai who surrendered were recruited by Kitano Taro's army, which also expanded the army of Sinong City from 20,000 to 60,000. While Shinji Tanaka's head was hung in Sinan City for exposure, the troublesome gentry in the city were also found out and executed one by one. All their family properties were confiscated, and even their family members were all held in a referendum according to the Ishida family's family law. After this battle, Ishida's family became famous. Most of the 100,000 troops led by the daimyo's family were wiped out by the 20,000 troops of Ishida's family in Sinong City. Such a record immediately caused an uproar in all countries. And those nobles in the capital city of the Tian Kingdom got up, completely one by one, directly blocked the gate of the capital city, and frantically asked for help from the Kingdom of Iron and the Kingdom of Fire next to them. The Kingdom of Fire, Konoha. Hatake Tsukumo has been missing for days, which also attracts the attention of third Hokage. Ryota, what mission has White Fang been performing recently? Saratobi Hiruzen sat at the desk, frowning, and asked the Umbu member wearing an animal mask in front of him. The Umbu member is the younger brother of the contemporary patriarch of the Aburame clan, Aburame Ryota, who has strong intelligence-gathering capabilities and is responsible for following third Hokage and obeying his orders on weekdays. Konoha Umbu has its own task system, except for the individual needs of third Hokage to personally instruct the participants. The others are assigned by the personnel in the task system. Tsukumo-sama doesn't have any mission records recently. Hearing Saratobi Hiruzen's question, Aburame Ryota immediately answered seriously. Didn't do the task? Find him for me. Saratobi Hiruzen froze for a moment, then nodded and said softly. Tsukumo-sama has been out of contact for several days. We thought it was you who gave us a special mission. Listening to Saratobi Hiruzen's arrangement, Aburame Ryota was obviously taken aback and quickly said in surprise, "Lost contact?" Aburame Ryota's answer greatly exceeded Saratobi Hiruzen's expectations. How could this be? It doesn't fit his character. so go find it. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, a little strange. He had never met Hatake Tsukumo who would suddenly lose contact. A normal ninja might have been killed in such a situation, but he didn't think Hatake Tsukumo would be like this. After all, he is known as Konoha's White Fang, and his strength is not comparable to that of ordinary Jōnin. Once Hatake Tsukumo gets close, even his third Hokage will feel tricky. As for being kidnapped, let alone. In his opinion, no one can kill or kidnap Hatake Tsukumo quietly in Konoha. At the same time, Cloud Shinobi, who escaped from the battlefield, also returned to Cloud Shinobi village as soon as possible. You mean that Ishida family has at least 20 Jōnin? Listening to the information brought back by the platform, third Hokage AI was also shocked by the news and looked at the platform in front of him in astonishment. Jōnin is not an ordinary ninja. It is also a test of talent, let alone various combat skills and combat experience. Just talk about Chakra. If Chakra cannot be promoted to the Jōnin level before the body weakens, then it is impossible to advance to Jōnin in a lifetime. Yes, those ninjutsu are definitely not something that a few Jōnin's Chakra can release. In other words, the Ishida family is very likely to have a Kaga level or close to Kaga level existence. Taking a deep breath, Tutai said with a solemn expression. Although this guess is a bit unbelievable, there is already a precedent in the country of Rain, and no one dares to see one in the country of Tian. 57. The results of the Battle of Sinong City spread to the capital of the land country. The civilians in the capital city knew the treatment of Sinong City, and they all looked forward to the Ishida family coming to the capital city as soon as possible and conquering the capital city. On the other hand, the nobles and gentry in the entire capital are panicked, especially those nobles who have always relied on their status as nobles to bully the people everywhere. Once the status of nobles is removed by the Ishida family, their fate will be worse than death. All of a sudden, various nobles began to unite, collectively funded and hired troops from other countries, and even invited top warriors from the Iron Country. Although the country of Iron has never participated in wars that other countries have seen, the internal affairs of the country like Tianjigua and the employment accepted by those wandering samurai have nothing to do with the country of Iron. Seeing that the whole city was on guard, and those high-ranking nobles in the past were hiding at home at this moment, a samurai's eyes were full of disdain. This person is Mikawa Kaido, who escaped from Ishida's house. When the Daming Mansion was destroyed, he happened to be integrating troops outside, and when he knew the news, he decisively chose to withdraw from the Tianji Kingdom's army. As it turns out, he was right, and the Ishida family is now a behemoth. I think of the word of mouth among the older generations. The Ishida family is going to take back the land of the country. At this moment, the Lord's Mansion of Sinong City. Have the statistics come out? How many people have we died this time? The head of the Ishida family, Ishida Konkari, is sitting in the hall of the Lord's Mansion. In front are Ishida Yuto, Kitano Taro, and Kitano Taro's subordinate officials. Ishida Yuto and Kitano Taro stood still, but the subordinate officer was very nervous facing the Ishida patriarch. It has long been rumored that there are more than a dozen Jōnin in the Ishida family. You must know that at the peak of Tianjigua, the total number of major families was only 3 or 4 Jōnin. Report to the patriarch. Our army in the agricultural city has killed 312 people and injured 5,961 people in this battle. The subordinate officer did not hesitate, but was a little nervous in the face of the decisive Ishida patriarch. The 100,000 army, the person in front of him ordered to burn more than half of them. Compared with the more than 300 people who died, they are nothing worth mentioning. Patriarch, 39 servants of the Ishida family were injured and 8 died. Beside Ishida, Youngdu saw that the subordinate officer had finished speaking and also hurriedly reported. Hearing this number, Ishida Sorikari's expression darkened. He didn't expect so many servants of the Ishida family, who were ninjas, to die and injure so many people. The shrine is not far from the Lord's Mansion, and Ishida Xinkai could also appear in the Lord's Mansion. Hearing the conversation of the people, his complexion was a little unhappy, because whether it is the samurai of Sinong City or the servants of the Ishida family, they are all followers of him and the Ishida family who respect him and the Ishida family. It is precisely because of this that they have no fear of the orders of the Ishida family. Rush to the forefront. These people are not only the most loyal part of Ishida's family, but also contribute a lot of incense value to him every day. Ishida Xinkai is absolutely reluctant to let these people die like this. System, have I activated the authority of the Ancestral Hall before, allowing people to enter the Ancestral Hall after death? Ishida Xinkai suddenly asked the system in his heart. Advertisement yes, The ancestors can spend 100 points of divine power to build the ancestral hall within a radius of 10 kilometers near their own shrines. After that, the ancestors can pass through the ancestral hall, descend the spiritual path, and extradite the dead into the hall. The soul of a person can consume the divine power through the ancestor spirit and transform it into a Een spirit, and the Een spirit can continue to provide incense, and then the ancestor spirit can transform it into a war spirit according to the level and ability of the Een spirit, and the war spirit can assist the tribe in fighting. The system immediately gave an answer. Huh, can it still be used for fighting? Ishida Xinkai was taken aback and was surprised by the system's answer. Doesn't that mean it's almost the same as in pure world reincarnation? Ishida Xinkai couldn't help murmuring. This so-called Een spirit couldn't be good or bad, but the war spirit always made him feel that there should be more than that. The war spirit retains the ability of life, and the minimum level is Jōnin. There is no entity, and it is not afraid of lightning and damage other than Een done. The system answered Ishida Xinkai's questions patiently and directly revealed the abilities of war spirit. So powerful? Listening to the system's prompt, Ishida Xinkai was taken aback, and Konoha Kaido-dan's spiritualization technique is no more than that. Ishida Xinkai is very aware of the rascality of this thing, and the state of the soul transformed by this Yihan pill is different. The soul state stripped by Yianwen is difficult to cause harm to real people, and Kido or Zanpakuto are needed as a medium to do so. But this battle spirit seems to be different. It can directly affect reality. For a moment, Chunyi suddenly thought of a sentence he saw in a book before. The Een soldiers borrow the way, and all living beings avoid it. This is a damn good Een soldier. Thinking of this, Ishida Xinkai couldn't help but let out a low cry. To build the Ancestral Protector's Hall, I will build it now. It's here at the Sinong Shrine. Ishida Xinkai didn't hesitate any longer and gave instructions to the system. Ding! Consume 100 points of divine power and start building the Ancestral Guardian Shrine now. The system's notification sounded again, and this time, Ishida Xinkai's shrine in Sinong City suddenly lit up with dazzling light. I saw that beam of light rising into the sky, as if with an inexplicable omen. There was a faint scene of hundreds of ghosts galloping. Master Patriarch, the ancestors have manifested in the shrine again. Just as the beam of light appeared here, someone from Ishida Konkari's side immediately rushed in to report and shouted loudly. Hearing this, Ishida Sakari and the others hurriedly rushed out of the Lord's mansion and rushed towards the Ishida shrine on the square, where they had no time to manage the data. At this moment, countless people have knelt down outside the Ishida shrine. Ishida Xinkai looked on with embarrassment on his face. He planned to build a memorial hall for protecting the ancestors. He didn't expect that the system would make such a big noise that it would directly affect the reality. However, when he saw that the number of people in his belief panel began to increase again, he immediately felt no embarrassment. 58. The light didn't last long, even less than a minute, and then quickly disappeared. The shrine of Ishida Xinkai has not changed much, but many golden inscriptions have appeared on the walls and pillars of the shrine. No one can understand what the inscription means, but all 10 people think that the inscription is very unusual. This Ishida Sakari led people into the shrine. Looking at those inscriptions, he was a little unbelievable. He thought it would be very difficult for the ancestors to stay in the world, but he didn't expect to be able to make such a big deal. Grandpa, do you hope that I can lead people to carry forward the Ishida family? Looking at the shrine in front of him, Ishida Sakari took a deep breath and guessed solemnly. Ishida Xinkai has made such a big commotion, and it is obvious that he does not intend to live a stable life anymore. Thinking that the enemy of Ishida's family already has a country of fire, Ishida Sorikari seems to understand everything. Ishida Xinkai had no time to care what Ishida Sakari said. At the moment he was looking around the shrine in surprise. What others saw were inscriptions, but Ishida Xinkai saw a huge portal standing over the shrine. Ding! The Ancestor Protector's Hall has been successfully built, and the Yinling world has opened. At this time, the system prompt appears again. At the same time, a world appeared in Ishida Xinkai's mind, which was within the scope of Sinong City. The terrain inside was exactly the same as that near Sinong City, but the buildings in the city were missing. This is another world? Ishida Xinkai was a little surprised. Before this, he hadn't heard the system prompt that there was a ghost world. The Een spirit world is the ancestor spirit's own world, and it is also the world where the Een spirit lives. It is equal to the territory owned by the ancestor spirit in reality. That's it. Nodding his head, Ishida Xinkai didn't feel much when he heard that it was just a place where ghosts lived. What attracted Ishida Xinkai's attention even more was that the 100 points of spiritual power he had consumed had been replenished. That is to say, during the burst of divine light just now, thousands more people began to believe in Ishida Xinkai. Although they all believed in superficial beliefs, because of worship, everyone contributed a little incense value, and suddenly thousands of incense points led Ishida Xinkai back a mouthful of blood. Then Ishida Xinkai set his sights on Ishida Sora. The next moment, Ishida Sora's spirit flickered, and he found himself in a world like a fairyland. Ishida Sorakari's heart jumped, and he quickly looked around, and immediately saw the figure of Ishida Xinkai not far away. Grandfather. After seeing Ishida Xinkai, Ishida Sakari hurriedly stepped forward and called out respectfully, "Those soldiers and servants died for my Ishida family. What are your plans?" With a wave of Ishida Shinkai's hand, a set of tables and chairs appeared out of nowhere on the ground, and he sat down, and at the same time signaled to Ishida Sorakari. Advertisement: this is the environment created by Ishida Xinkai, and he has the final say on what to do. But Ishida Sorakari obviously didn't think so. Seeing Ishida Xinkai make a set of tables and chairs out of thin air with his hands up, he was really surprised. But he didn't hesitate, and immediately sat down opposite Ishida Xinkai. "I originally planned to hold a memorial ceremony at the shrine today to comfort the dead," Ishida Sorakari said respectfully. He naturally did not hide anything from Ishida Xinkai. "Okay, when the time comes, I will open the gates of the underworld, extradite those who died for my family into the land of Elysium, and tell people that as long as they can end up in my Ishida's house, even if they are dead, I can bring them back to life." Ishida Xinkai nodded. He had planned to arrange it like this. Since Ishida Sora had already planned it, he didn't say anything more. However, his ancestral hall has been built. It's really unreasonable not to attract a wave of believers. After all, Senong City has just recruited tens of thousands of troops, and those are all good seedlings. What Ishida Xinkai said is very plain, but it is different when it is introduced into Ishida Konkari. It leads people into the world of bliss, and can also revive people. This is what God can do. Could it be that you really became a fairy, Grandpa, as the outside world has said? Looking at Ishida Xinkai, Ishida Sakari finally couldn't help asking. Ishida Xinkai was also taken aback by Ishida Konkari's question, because he has become an ancestor spirit because of the system, and he only protects his own group, and doesn't seem to have anything to do with those gods. "You don't have to worry about it. As long as you enter my Ishida's house, you will be protected by me." Ishida Xinkai didn't know how to explain things like ancestral spirits to her grandson, so she just waved her hand and said. The next moment, the illusionary state was directly closed, and Ishida Sora also shook his head and woke up instantly. When he realized that he was still in the shrine, he looked at the shrine of Ishida Xinkai on the shrine with increasing awe, bowed respectfully again, and then got up. His ancestor summoned him suddenly, which made Ishida Konkari more confident. After getting up, Ishida Konkari's eyes were full of excitement. "Notify immediately. At noon today, our clan will pay homage to the heroes who died in battle. The ancestors will appear and extradite the heroes into the paradise of Elysium." Ishida Sorakari took a deep breath, looked at Kitano Taro next to him, and said loudly, "Ancestor will appear?" Hearing Ishida Sorakari's words, the few people who followed were taken aback, and the subordinate officer behind Kitano Taro was even more shocked, and inadvertently looked at the shrine above, his expression becoming more and more odd. Clanman Kitano Jiro's belief status has been increased to fanatical worship, generates 1 point of incense every day. With just one piece of news, the subordinate officer actually reached the level of fanatical admiration for Ishida Xinkai. Kitano Jiro? This guy brought his brother into the Ishida family as servants. Hearing the prompt, Ishida Xinkai glanced at the subordinate officer and Kitano Taro, who was somewhat similar to him in surprise, and said in surprise. 59. Soon, according to Ishida Sorakari's request, the news of the sacrificial ceremony for the sacrificed warriors spread. The people in the city put down what they were doing and rushed towards the square in the center of Senong City. They all already knew that the 20,000 troops of Senong City defeated the 100,000 troops of Daming Mansion. Although they didn't know the specific process, this result was enough to make everyone in Senong City feel excited. Especially after hearing the news that the ancestors of the Ishida family would show up again and extradite the souls of the dead into the pure land of ultimate bliss, it made countless people in Senong City who believed in Ishida Xinkai last time even more excited. Not just the people. This time, even the tens of thousands of troops recruited by Senong City were brought to the vicinity of the square. Those newly recruited troops had already heard about the ancestors of the Ishida family from the mouths of the veterans. Everyone just scoffed at this. In their view, this country bumpkin has never seen the world. How can a person be resurrected after death? He must have been fooled by the ninjas. However, after such words appeared, the person who said these words was immediately beaten to death by those veterans, and finally gradually turned into a gang fight. This incident also caused quite a stir in the army. However, after Kitano Taro knew the reason, all the soldiers who disrespected the ancestors of the Ishida family were all executed. After that, no one dared to say anything bad about the Ishida family. At this moment, at the corner of the square, several dark-skinned men were looking at the crowded square ahead. Master Rakage, let us negotiate. Why do you come in person? The earth platform of Cloud Shinobi Village looked at the leader with a beard and said helplessly, "Come here. I want to see if there are really superpowers in this country of Tianji. Besides, if I hadn't come, I might have missed such a big event. I'd like to see how this Ishida family is going to fool those people." Third Rakage AI grinned and said indifferently, with his strength, he thinks that no one in the ninja world can do anything to him. Hearing what Third Rakage said, the earth platform next to him could only nod helplessly. Once Third Rakage enters lightning-style chakra mode, both defense and attack power become extremely terrifying. In this ninja world, as long as there are no large-scale ninjas appearing, no one can do anything to him. Thinking of this, Tutai and the others didn't have any worries. At this moment, more and more people had gathered, and the entire square was already crowded with people. The troops who were originally arranged to watch the excitement were also arranged to join in to maintain order. Like last time, all eyes were on the high platform. At this moment, 320 stretchers were placed on the high platform, covered with white cloth. They were ninjas and samurai who died in the war. Looking at the corpses covered with white cloths, the family members of those warriors couldn't bear it anymore, collapsed on the ground and sobbed softly, and the atmosphere in the square became solemn and oppressive. Those people on the high platform died to protect Sinong City, and the people of Sinong City knew this very well. Under the control of Ishida's family, although it has only been more than a month, their lives have been improved, which makes them cherish the life in front of them even more. "My lord, everything is ready." Kitano Taro came to Ishida Sora in person and said respectfully. Knowing that the ancestors will appear again today and extradite the dead souls into the world of bliss, they are naturally looking forward to it. If the ancestors can really do this, then it doesn't matter if they die. As long as they show enough loyalty, they can continue to live in another place. Advertisement, it might even be able to be given the ability to resurrect by the ancestors. Ishida Sorikari nodded. At this moment, he had changed into a black hunting suit and walked up to the high platform. "Bless the ancestors, my Ishida family and Sinong City jointly resisted the enemy's attack and kept the peace and stability of Sinong City. The warriors who were extremely loyal to our family even sacrificed their lives. The ancestors issued a decree. The souls of the dead will be extradited to the pure land of ultimate bliss." As soon as he came to the stage, Ishida Sorikari did not hesitate too much and directly began to chant loudly. In this silent square, Ishida Sorikari's voice spread to every corner. "Is that so? These guys are too easy to deceive." Seeing people kneeling down in the square, Third Rakage said a little bored. For them, Ishida Sorikari's words really didn't have much appeal. Even those warriors would have wanted to yawn if it wasn't for the fact that this was Sinong City. However, Ishida Sorikari didn't have the kind of long speech that people imagined, and he finished speaking soon, and then knelt down in the direction of the shrine. Then the members of the Ishida family and their servants knelt down. Seeing Kitano Taro kneeling, those samurai were shocked immediately. Wow! The next moment, all the warriors fell to their knees. It's time to start the system. If you use the Zolling Mall to extradite, how much divine power will you need to consume? Ishida Xinkai asked the system. The construction of the ancestral spirit mall consumed him 100 points of spiritual power, although he also recovered a mouthful of blood, but who knows how this thing was consumed. Every time you open the spiritual way of the Zolling Mall, you need 30 points of spiritual power, which can be maintained for 30 seconds. After that, the normal duration of the spiritual way can be increased by 10 seconds for each point of spiritual power. 30 points at a time? Enough to make a Jōnin. Ishida Xinkai was a little surprised when he heard that the opening would be 30 o'clock, but thinking that there were so many people waiting to offer incense to himself, Ishida Xinkai had to grit his teeth. Open it. Sinong City's spiritual path. Taking a deep breath, suppressing the pain in my heart, Ishida Xinkai gave orders. Buzz. A hum came from the shrine, and a huge portal appeared in the sky. The portal opened, revealing a peaceful and quiet atmosphere inside. Really? Did it really appear? Seeing the huge portal appearing in the sky, the hearts of the warriors below were shocked, and the warnings from the veterans of Sinong City sounded, and they kowtowed in haste. Yes, is it an illusion? The Cloud Shinobi Village ninjas who originally planned to watch a good show widened their eyes and looked at the sky in astonishment. No, it's absolutely impossible for illusion to affect so many people. It's true. Third Raikage looked at the sky, also full of disbelief. 60. Third Raikage was really taken aback by the scene in the sky. He has never seen a ninjutsu that can cause this phenomenon. At the same time, on Ishida Xinkai's side, the number of believers in the panel began to grow wildly. Faith panel enshrined as a god, generates 100 points of incense every day, 0.5 body prostration, generates 30 points of incense every day, 6 zealous worship, generates 1 point of incense per day, 377 worship, generates 0.3 incense points per day, 6,241 superficial faith, 0.01 point of incense value is generated every day, 10,005, thick lines believe in 10,000, and worship more than 6,000. Ishida Xinkai looked at the numbers on the faith panel, almost grinning from the corners of her mouth to the back of her ears in joy. Just as he was speaking, superficial beliefs increased by hundreds. But he hasn't gotten carried away, because he knows that there will be a big wave of more data expansion in the future. It's about to start. Ishida Xinkai groaned. At the same time, with the great portals of the sky being opened, a huge flower with 5 petals floated out of it. Look, what's that? The appearance of the flowers immediately attracted the attention of many people, and someone pointed to the sky and shouted in surprise. It is the bellflower that is the symbol of the family crest of the Ishida family. Looking at the flower, the earthen platform of Cloud Shinobi Village frowned and said. The third Raikage next to him didn't speak, but stared straight ahead with his eyes. I saw that huge platycodon flower flying over the dead, and began to shed a little bit of golden light, as if it had turned into a golden mist. Then, in the golden light, figures appeared one by one. It's a dead person. Looking at the phantoms on the high platform, someone immediately shouted again. Without exception, 320 people, 320 figures, with faces exactly the same as those of the corpses, all emerged in the golden light. And looking at the familiar face again, the family members or close friends of the deceased suddenly knelt down and cried. At the same time, the data in Ishida Shinkai's belief panel began to grow wildly. In just a breath, the number of superficial beliefs quickly increased to 20,000, and then because some people entered the level of worship, the increase in the number of superficial beliefs began to slow down. It only takes more than 10 seconds. Superficial beliefs have exceeded 20,000, worship has exceeded 8,000, and even fanatical worship has exceeded 500. Ishida Xinkai knew that those who worshipped fanatically were relatives of those soldiers. Advertisement in their view, as samurai, their hands were stained with too much blood, and they would go to hell after death. Now the ancestors of the Ishida family showed their spirits and wanted to extradite them to the pure land of ultimate bliss. As relatives, they are naturally grateful to the Ishida family. While countless people looked up, those figures looked at their relatives, nodded and waved with a smile on their faces. Then, with the traction of the platycodon flower, one by one, the dead souls flew to the sky, and finally lined up to enter the huge portal. The whole process lasted a full 5 minutes. And in these 5 minutes, the number of believers who cast their eyes on Ishida Xinkai has increased by 2. They are Kitano Taro, and Ishida Sorikari's son and Ishida's friend. Under the influence of Ishida Sorikari, Ishida's friends have long admired him, and now it is a miracle, directly improving the state of faith. The last time Ishida Xinkai wiped out Matsumoto's family has been engraved in Kitano Taro's heart, and now seeing Ishida Xinkai perform miracles again. And he can also lead the souls of the dead into bliss, which is definitely a means only available to gods. Kitano Taro was originally a prisoner of war and should have been executed, but now he has become a loyal dog of the Ishida family. Naturally, the ancestor of the Ishida family has 5 bodies. After all, no one knows where a person will go when he dies. Some people say that people will go to hell after death, and some people say that there is a pure land of bliss, but only very few people can enter. After all, people have nostalgia, and no one wants to be separated from their loved ones or fall into hell after death. Now Ishida Shinkai's methods show people a deeper understanding of death. Many people even speculate whether this Ishida ancestor has become the existence in charge of life and death. After all, everyone else is dying like a lamp goes out, but this one can manifest spirits. Ishida Xinkai is definitely a unique example in the history of ninja world. After all, he can forcibly lure people into the pure land of ultimate bliss. Only the legendary god tier can do it. What's going on? Can people really come back from the dead? Third Raikage looked at the portal that had begun to close and couldn't help frowning, his heart full of suspicion. What happened today was really beyond his expectations. He originally thought it was just an illusion, but if he could be tricked by such a large-scale illusion, he couldn't imagine what kind of person was hiding here. And the fellow Cloud Shinobi Village ninjas feel that their 3 views have been refreshed. If third Hokage was here, he might still have some doubts, because he knew that second Hokage had researched the forbidden technique like impure world reincarnation, so he naturally knew the existence of the pure land of ultimate bliss. But he is not here after all. No one can question such a situation, neither can third Raikage. Because the souls of those people did appear. If it was some special means prepared in advance, I have to admit that the Ishida family's generosity. At this moment, everyone in the square had already bowed down. Only third Raikage and his group were still standing out from the crowd for a while, attracting the attention of many people. Master Raikage? After all, there were at least tens of thousands of people in the square, and being watched by so many people, even the earthen platform was a little nervous. At this moment, third Raikage is looking at Ishida Sorikari, who is high in the sky. Ishida Sakari was also staring at third Raikage, looking at third Raikage's figure and several ninjas with Cloud Shinobi Village forehead protectors around him. Ishida Sokari's eyes were fixed. Ask them to go to the Lord's mansion, and at the same time inform Yongdu, Maimong and Datong to go there together. Ishida Sorikari guessed the identity of third Raikage in an instant, and gave orders to Katano Taro next to him without any trace. It seems that this kid has already guessed the third Raikage, so I don't need to remind him. The following movements could not escape Ishida Shinkai's perception, and when he heard Ishida Sokari's arrangement, he nodded silently. 61. After finishing dealing with the affairs on the square, Ishida Konkari took people back to the Lord's mansion of Sinong City, and third Raikage and the others have been waiting in the Lord's mansion for a long time. Seniors from Cloud Shinobi Village came to visit. The hospitality was not good, and they still hoped for High Han. As soon as Ishida Sorikari entered the door, he said politely to the leader third Raikage, and then brought Ishida Yuto, Ishida Maimong, and Ishida Dong to the main seat. After entering the door, the eyes of Ishida, Maimong, and others kept sweeping over third Raikage. On the way, Ishida Sorikari had already told them his guess, and everyone looked at third Raikage's features and became more and more sure of the other party's identity. Similarly, third Raikage's gaze was also examining the few people in front of him. He could feel that the strength of each of these 4 people was not as simple as that of an ordinary Jōnin as rumored. On the earth platform next to third Raikage, one eye was covered by an eye patch, but the other gaze fell on Ishida Datong in surprise. Because he actually felt the pressure from a samurai, this is extremely rare. Even in the Iron Country, there are only 3 or 2 people who can make him feel this way, except for Iron Country Admiral. Ishida Xinkai also followed in, carefully sizing up third Raikage, who is known as the strongest in the ninja world. The third Raikage assassin is about 30 or 40 years old, much younger than the fourth Raikage in his previous life memory, but compared to the fourth Raikage, the third generation in front of him is obviously rougher, with huge tattoos on his arm's thunder tattoo, and there is no iconic thunder scar on his chest. This brat is not weak. After looking around, Ishida Xinkai narrowed his eyes and said secretly beside him, Patriarch Ishida is being polite. It's because we didn't notify in advance. Looking away from the 3 of Ishida Yongdu, third Raikage smiled and said to Ishida Sorikari, although third Raikage looks extremely rough on the outside, but his heart is extremely delicate, and his tone is more easygoing. Listening to the other party's answer, Ishida Sorikari was also secretly startled. Obviously, the third Raikage in front of him was much more difficult to deal with than he imagined. I really don't understand how Grandpa and Grandma dealt with the Iron Kingdom back then. After a pause, Ishida Sorikari said to himself, I heard that there is a wood-style blood succession boundary in Ishida's house. I don't know if it's true. Although his thoughts were delicate, third Raikage's own strength made him disdain too many detours and asked directly. As someone who had heard of first Hokage's horror-wood style in the early days of Konoha's establishment, he knew much better than Ishida Konkari and the others in a small country. Back then, first Hokage was able to suppress the 5 great powers, relying on that with style and its terrifying physical fitness known as the body of a fairy. It is precisely because of this that Third Raikage ordered the people from Cloud Shinobi Village to major in tactics and physical fitness. At this moment, Third Raikage's physical fitness is already the strongest in the ninja world. If he can get with style Chakra again, he might be able to regain the myth created by first Hokage. As soon as Third Raikage said this, the surrounding atmosphere suddenly became a little delicate. Advertisement Ishida Maimong and the others stared at Third Raikage warily. Ishida Sora also narrowed his eyes. Although the opponent's strength and status are not comparable to the current Ishida family, this does not mean that the Ishida family will be afraid of the opponent. The next moment, Ishida Sorikari's eyes turned blood red, and his left eye turned rapidly, and the breath of Third Raikage had been engraved and recorded. He couldn't wait to try whether the opponent's so-called strongest body could stop his own Yin Luo chasing the soul. Ishida Uwada bent his fingers and was ready for the bullet string. Ishida Dadong even pressed his palm on the handle of Senbon Zakura, ready to enter the Shurkai state directly at any time. Seeing the change in Ishida Sorikari's eyes, Third Raikage's eyes froze. Don't be nervous, I'm just curious. It's really exciting that the master of wood style can appear again in the ninja world. Third Raikage then grinned and waved his hands, which eased the atmosphere a lot. I don't know what Patriarch Ishida's plan is going to be. I mean the country of iron. After a pause, Third Raikage continued. Huh. Ishida Sorikari was taken aback, looking at the other party with some surprise. He felt that this was the real purpose of the other party. Do you have any idea? After conquering the country of Tion, go and take down the country of iron? Third Raikage asked with pursed lips. As Ishida Sorikari guessed, this is his main purpose, and he wants to make friends with Ishida's family. Everyone was startled when they heard Third Raikage's words. Even everyone in Cloud Shinobi Village was no exception. The Kingdom of Iron has always remained neutral, but ninjas from the 5 major nations are not allowed to fight within the territory of the Iron Kingdom, and they will not favor any of the 5 major nations. However, everyone knows that with the current resources of various countries, maintaining stability is to favor the nation of fire, so we need a less impartial neutral country. Third Raikage said with a smile on his face. What he meant was obvious. Ishida Sorikari didn't answer, just regained his composure and looked at the other party lightly. Patriarch Ishida can rest assured that as a neutral country, the Iron Kingdom will not intervene if it is attacked by other than the 5 major countries. In other words, if the Ishida family attacks the Iron Kingdom, the 5 major countries will not give any support to the Iron Kingdom. Furthermore, the Konoha people who may have had a feud with the Ishida family are being transferred to the Land of Rain, and are restrained by ninjas from the 2 countries. For the Ishida family, this is a good opportunity. Third Raikage said persuasively. It has to be said that this is indeed an opportunity for the Ishida family. Looking at the other party, Ishida Sorikari still didn't speak, but he already had the answer in his heart. 62. After Third Raikage finished speaking, he left directly. On the way, a group of Cloud Shinobi hadn't recovered from Third Raikage's words. Master Raikage, why? The Ishida family is just a small family. We can force them to hand over the wood-style ninja. Tutai hesitated for a moment and asked Third Raikage in confusion. Hearing the inquiry from the platform, Third Raikage stopped. Is that really the case? Third Raikage took a deep look at everyone and said with a sigh. Seeing Third Raikage's posture, everyone's expressions changed instantly. It was the first time for them to see the confident Lord Raikage showing such a helpless expression. Just now, the samurai's sword gave me a strong pressure. I can feel that the sword can hurt me, Third Raikage said in a low voice. His eyes were a bit complicated. He thought that his body was already strong, but he didn't expect that there were weapons that could hurt him. What? Hearing this, everyone's expression changed immediately. Even the weapons that can damage the Third Raikage. If it is some forbidden technique, they can still understand, but the weapons are a bit unbelievable. If there are many such weapons, wouldn't it be possible to create an army that can destroy everything? Not just the weapon, but the eyes of the Patriarch Ishida. Third Raikage paused, then continued. This time, even his eyes were full of horror. Eyes? Pupil technique? Hearing Third Raikage's reminder, everyone tensed up and asked subconsciously. The legendary highest form of the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. Third Raikage nodded solemnly and said, Mangekyo? Tutai froze for a moment, somewhat unable to understand what the so-called Mangekyo Sharingan meant. The last person with these eyes was a man named Uchiha Madara. Third Raikage didn't explain what about the eyes, but mentioned a person's name. His. Hearing this, everyone gasped. Uchiha Madara, That was the task of the same period as first Hokage. It was precisely because the two joined forces to create Konoha that forced several other major countries to bow their heads. With style, Sharingan, is the Ishida family planning to rebuild a Konoha? The Earth platform's breathing became heavy, and he asked nervously. Now the relationship between the 5 major countries is very delicate. If there is another Konoha, I am afraid, thinking of this, Tutai's complexion was a little ugly. Don't worry, what happened to the Ishida family has nothing to do with our country of thunder. What should be a headache is the country of iron and the country of fire. I heard that the ancestors of the Ishida family had a festival with the country of iron, and now the country of fire has always to engage in actions in neighboring countries. I am afraid that the relationship between the two sides has already reached the point of dire straits. Third Raikage looks rough on the surface, but he already has a lot of information, and this time, not only can he sell the Ishida family a favor, but he can also create an extra country to contain the development of the Fire Nation. At the same time, when the Third Raikage sounded in the square, he always felt that someone was spying on him, but he never confirmed the figure of the other party, which made him feel that the Ishida family was more mysterious than the rumors. Today, it really took a hit for Third Raikage. Advertisement at this moment, the Lord's Mansion. After Third Raikage and the others left, Ishida Xinkai set his sights on Ishida Datong. Master Patriarch, Datong understands your concerns. Grandpa once told us that it was the country of iron that forced the master and apprentice to separate, so he has always taught us that the place where Ishida's house is located is our country, so don't worry about us. Ishida Datong understands what Ishida Xinkai thinks because they grew up in the Iron Country. If the Ishida family rashly takes action against the Iron Country, it will definitely affect them, so they immediately explained calmly. Moreover, the contemporary Sanfune sent back news that the elite troops touched by the country of iron disguised themselves as private soldiers of the samurai family to assist in the garrison of the capital of the country of iron. The daimyo of the country of iron has betrayed the morality of the samurai country. Then Ishida Datong continued, if he had some feelings for the iron country before, but now, he has completely become a member of the Ishida family. So the first consideration is naturally the interests of the Ishida family. Okay, let's go ahead. Tomorrow we will send troops to crusade against the capital of the land country and declare war on the iron country. When Ishida Xinkai heard this, he lost his worries and immediately waved his hand and said loudly. Soon, Sinongshen's army moved into action. The samurai who had witnessed the miracles of the Ishida family ancestors never dared to second thoughts. From what happened in the square, everyone agrees that after death, people will enter the paradise of ultimate bliss and the 18th floor of hell, according to merit and killing. Especially those samurai who have killed a lot, they dare not have the slightest second heart towards the Ishida family. At the same time, the ancestors of the Ishida family performed miracles again here, and the news of leading the dead into the world of bliss also spread around the internet. Ishida Xinkai began to think about how to use it, and suddenly there were more than 100,000 incense points today. More than 100,000 incense points, which is a number that Ishida Xinkai never dared to think about, converted into more than 1,300 points of divine power. Ishida Xinkai thought for a while, and immediately decided on the use of so many gods and spirits. Now that the family is going to fight against the Iron Kingdom, remembering the bastards in the Iron Kingdom chased and killed him, Ishida Xinkai must of course improve the strength of the clan as soon as possible. Revenge went back. Draw a lottery, you have to draw a lottery, draw a nuclear bomb. Lousy blew up Tanyong's. Ishida Xinkai said cursingly. Ding. Consume 10 points of divine power to draw an item and get eraser. Ding. Consume 10 points of divine power to extract an item and get a C-level ninjutsu, great fireball technique. Ding. Consume 10 points of divine power to draw an item and get summoning scroll, blank. This time the lottery draw was extremely bumpy. Ishida Xinkai was a little tired after getting 30 items in a row. However, after seeing that there were still thousands of points of divine power, Ishida Xinkai decided to continue the draw and must draw a good item. Come. Ding. Consume 10 points of divine power to extract the talent, which can grant the blood successor limit, shock escape, to the clansmen. Another 30 consecutive summons were made, and just when Ishida Xinkai felt a little numb, a familiar 4 words of blood succession limit appeared in Ishida Shinkai's mind. Shock escape. From the world of One Piece, the devil fruit ability used by Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, can be used as a blood successor limit to endow the clansmen with the shock fruit ability. On shelves tonight, please support, please support. 63. The news about the miracles performed by the ancestors of the Ishida family in Sinong City spread out again. In just half a day, another news that was enough to shock the ninja world was deliberately released by the Ishida family. Just 3 days. In these 3 days, 2 pieces of news have spread all over the world. Everyone was taken aback when they heard that the Ishida family was going to challenge the Iron Kingdom. Although the Iron Country may not be able to compare with the villages of the 5 major countries because it has no ninja relationship, it is not something that a ninja family in a small country can challenge. Countless people have questioned the Ishida family's decision. But no matter what, Ishida's family is like this, and even stood up to declare. At the same time, some good-natured people also stripped away the fact that Ishida Xinkai once had a feud with the Iron Kingdom. For a while, people believed more and more that the Ishida family had been planning for a long time. However, people still pay more attention to the capital of Tian Country. Now everyone knows that there is an army of the Iron Kingdom stationed in the capital of the Tian Kingdom. Although it is claimed to be the private soldiers of the samurai family, no matter whether it is a private soldier or an army, it is impossible for the Ishida family to be friendly with the Iron Kingdom. 980. Most people are looking forward to the result of the Ishida family's attack on the capital city of the country of Tian. If the Ishida family can really take down the capital of the country of Iron under the garrison of the warriors of the country of Iron, then it means that the family of Ishida has indeed challenged the country of Iron. The capital, maybe the countries will really have to re-examine the Ishida family by then. Challenge the Iron Country? Are those guys crazy? They think they can challenge the Iron Country by defeating the 100,000 troops of the Daming Mansion? A group of aristocrats in the capital city of Tanakuni were very angry and also a little uneasy. The fact that the Ishida family can say such a thing shows that the Ishida family is really determined to win the capital city. Ask for help from other countries. For a moment, the leader, Grand Duke Tianjigua, immediately made a decision. However, those who sent out only brought back one message. That is unsupportable. The reason for the 5 major countries is because the country of Iron is now involved, and any of the 5 major countries cannot participate in matters related to the country of Iron. The Tang dynasty next to him was even more decisive, directly expressing his fear of revenge from the Ishida family. By Abby, now that the news of the Ishida family is constantly spreading, the Ishida family has become more and more mysterious. No one can guarantee this. Every time the Ishida family challenges the Iron Country, they will definitely lose. No matter how far away the country of the moon is, the reply is similar. There is no need to think about the country of thunder that is farther away, let alone whether people from the country of thunder will participate in the affairs of the country of Iron. When the country of thunder sends people, the day lily will be cold. Originally, the country of Iron had issued an order that ninjas were not allowed to appear in the country of Iron. Moreover, the status of the Iron Country as a permanent neutral country makes the 5 major countries that are already restraining each other want to support the Iron Country, but they don't want other countries to get too close to the Iron Country. Go help the country of Iron, because of the general's mansion. Advertisement. The Ishida family is really looking for death. You were lying in the Iron Country and I couldn't touch you. If you come to the Iron Country to challenge, we have a reason to send troops to destroy the Ishida family directly. So after years of waiting, I finally got my chance. Admiral Miyamatagawa was not surprised but pleased when he heard the Ishida family's declaration of war, and said with a sneer. Mifune next to him didn't understand, and he had a panoramic view of Miyamatagawa's reaction, so as to report the news here to the tribe at any time. Mifune himself didn't even think that the Ishida family would be his ancestors. Originally, he was supposed to return to the Ishida family with his father Ishida Dadong, but after learning that the Iron Kingdom sent samurai to target the Ishida family, Ishida Dadong left him to help the family find out the news. Although it is against the spirit of the warrior, there is no way to do it. You can't watch your clansmen be killed by your so-called Bushido. Mifune has been traveling as a wandering warrior for a long time, and finally followed the Admiral military mansion, so the country of Iron does not know the true identity of Mifune. General, what shall we do next? After a pause, Mifune knew it was time to speak, so he asked aloud. Don't worry about it, just wait for them to come. If the Ishida family can't even capture the capital of Tian Country, they probably don't have the courage to come to Iron Country. That guy was a coward at the beginning, and his descendants are also cowards. Miyamoto Chuan waved his hand, said disdainfully, and finally became gnashing of teeth. Behind Miyamatagawa is the Miyamoto family. The Miyamoto family has always been a samurai family in the Iron Country. At its peak, there were 3 admirals in a row. It can be said that in this Iron Country, it has a profound foundation and unparalleled prestige. However, 100 years ago, a guy named Ishida Xinkai abducted the pearl of their patriarch, and even tricked the patriarch's daughter to break with the family. Even before the old patriarch died, he ordered that once Ishida Xinkai or his descendants were found in the Iron Kingdom, they would be killed without mercy. This has also become the shame of the Miyamoto family for 100 years. Except for the insiders of the Miyamoto family, outsiders have never been aware of it. If the members of the Ishida family knew that their ancestors still had such great achievements, they would probably pay homage even more. As the instigator, Ishida Xinkai himself, at this moment, is taking advantage of Ishida's friend's deep sleep and entered his dream. As expected, Ishida's friend is the son of Ishida Sorikari. I don't know if it's because of being hit by Ishida's wheat, and he is practicing desperately. And Ishida Xinkai nodded when he saw it. Ishida's family didn't have any dandies who were greedy for pleasure. This was the most gratifying thing for him in these years. But Ishida Xinkai still came to Ishida's friend. The smiling kick woke up the conscious body of Ishida's friend who was in meditation. Ishida's friend's expression changed, and he rolled away with his strength and quickly jumped up to fight back. When he saw Ishida Xinkai, he quickly withdrew his attack. Then he knelt and fell down in midair. The descendants, Ishida friends, have seen the ancestors. Ishida's friend yelled at Ishida Xinkai nervously, before Iji heard that whoever was blessed by the ancestors would dream of the other person, but he had dreamed it more than once, and he was not sure if it was true this time. Ishida Xinkai squinted his eyes. Yo-Yo looked at Ishida's friend who was shaking on the ground, nodded in satisfaction, and asked with a serious look behind him. "Grandson, do you desire power?" 64. Just when countries are still spreading doubts about what the Ishida family has done, Kitano Taro, a servant of the Ishida family, has appeared outside the capital with an army of 50,000, and some spies from various countries who had been waiting in the capital for a long time came to their spirits immediately. With 50,000 warriors, he didn't expect that the Ishida family would mobilize so many troops at once. If so, wouldn't there be only more than 10,000 people stationed in Sinong City? But soon, the ninjas of Ishida's family rang out, and each of them was silent. There are more than a dozen cities guarded by Jōnin, and there is no need for ordinary samurai. In addition to Kitano Taro, Ishida Maimon led the team this time. Ishida Maimon with wood-style chakra is definitely a siege weapon in the national war. After they came, the Ishida family didn't speak, and directly directed the samurai to attack. At the same time, Ishida Maimon quickly pinched her handprints. Birth of the Tree World. Huge vines broke through the city wall one by one, rushing towards the warriors placed on the city wall. Facing the vines like giant snakes, even the warriors of the Iron Kingdom are powerless to resist, and the city walls that are directly swept down by those vines basically lose their fighting power even if they survive. The capital city of Tianji Kingdom without the support of ninjas has no power to resist Ishida Maimang's wood style at all, and because of the appearance of wood style, it directly builds a huge slope. The weaving slope rushed up the city wall. The 50,000 elite troops rushed up one by one without thinking about their own safety. And there are servants headed by Ishida Yuto among them. Many warriors of the Iron Kingdom were attacked and killed by Ishida Yuto with bullet string before they had time to react. At this moment, the nobles of Tianji country gathered in the Daming Mansion. There was a warrior kneeling in front of them, who had just brought the news that the army of Sinong City was approaching the city. The warriors from the Iron Kingdom are here, and they will definitely be able to defend the capital. The Grand Duke of Tianjigua said solemnly. The warriors of the Iron Kingdom are not only strong individually, but also have first-class ability to lead troops to fight. What's more, the Ishida family bluntly said that they want to challenge the Iron Kingdom. In their opinion, the Iron Kingdom will definitely not lose face. And next to it, there was a warrior sitting there, not speaking, but nodding with a smile. He is the samurai who was in charge of accepting the employment of the nobles of the Tian Kingdom this time. The samurai he brought has tens of thousands, all of which belong to the army of the Iron Kingdom. Although it is not enough to attack Sinan City, it is enough to cooperate with the army of the capital to defend the city. At this moment, they still don't know that the warriors of the Iron Kingdom, whom they regard as their saviors, are simply unable to prevent the Ishida family's rogue style of play. Just as his voice fell, a warrior from the Iron Kingdom rushed in. Report to Captain Muto. The castle gate is lost. As soon as the samurai came in, he said to the general of the Iron Kingdom with a nervous expression on his face. What? Hearing the report from the warrior, everyone was shocked. How long has it been? Falling so quickly? No one can imagine what the Ishida family relied on to make the 20,000 defenders at the front gate of the capital fall instantly. Come out with me. At this moment, Captain Muto couldn't sit still anymore. He got up and grabbed the saber hanging beside him and said loudly. But the next moment, his footsteps stopped, because Ishida Yongdu has already rushed over with the ninja directly. Advertisement. Just like when attacking Sinong City, Ishida Maimong was in charge of attacking the city, and he directly brought people over to harvest those nobles. A samurai from the Iron Kingdom is nothing more than that. Ishida Yongdu looked at the silver-armored warrior at the head and said with disdain, "You want to die." Hearing Ishida Yudo's words, Captain Muto's complexion sank, and with a curse, he directly pulled out the long knife in the scabbard and rushed towards Ishida Yuto, waving the silver. The opponent is very strong and can be sent to perform employment tasks. Muto's swordsmanship has even surpassed Sasaki Ichiro back then, reaching the level of a first-class samurai, and his speed is extremely fast. Fight for a long time. But facing Ishida Yuto, who is not afraid of melee combat and doesn't even need to seal, it is not enough to watch. 5 color strings. Ishida Yongdu stretched out his hand into a claw, swung it forward, and a silver thread appeared out of thin air, like a steel blade, directly deflecting the opponent's attack. Bullet string. At the same time, the index finger of Ishida Yuwata's other hand has been stuck out. Boom. Muto didn't have time to react. He was directly pierced through the body, and then the bullet string's trend continued unabated, hitting the beam behind with one finger, and the entire hall collapsed in an instant. Without exception, the nobles inside were all blown away by those gorgeous bricks and tiles. Half an hour later, the news of all the nobles' executions was released, and the mansions of countless nobles were blocked directly by the ninjas with earth style. The city gate was quickly breached with the support of Ishida Maimong. After learning that the nobles had been destroyed, all the Iron City warriors had been killed, and the city gate had been broken. The capital warriors who came to support from other city gates gave up their resistance and accepted the captives. A great battle, from Ishida Maimong's attack to the execution of the nobles and the destruction of the city gate, lasted for an hour. Even the soldiers at the rear of the 50,000 troops brought by Kitano Taro had already begun to clean up the battlefield before they understood what happened. For a while, the news about the destruction of the capital of Tianji Kingdom was quickly spread by spies from various countries. After only 1 hour, the city was successfully breached, which made everyone turn their attention to the Iron Kingdom. At the same time, Ishida Xinkai directly issued an order to quickly gather the troops in the capital and march towards the border of the Iron Country. The Ishida family did not rest, and was about to start a war with the Iron Kingdom, which immediately touched the hearts of countless people. At the same time, Tang Country and Moon Country are already preparing to send people to Tian Country with gifts to congratulate them. As for the Country of Fire, the news that the Ishida family broke through the capital of the Country of Iron and the Country of Tan so quickly reached Konoha's Hokage office. This is a good opportunity. The Ishida family attacked the Iron Kingdom. We can take this opportunity to send people to raid the Ishida family headquarters. At that time, people will only know that the Iron Kingdom destroyed the Ishida family and has nothing to do with us. Shimura Danzo was standing in front of Third Hokage and said seriously, "No, other countries are staring at us. Once we send people to the Country of Fields or the Country of Iron, they will immediately cause a backlash. Besides, the Sure family is not enough to threaten us." Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated and directly rejected Shimura Danzo's request. But Shimura Danzo sneered. "So, what if Hatake Tsukumo has died at the hands of Ishida's family?" 65. Ding. Congratulations to Zhu Ling. The number of your shrines is +1, and the Ishida family controls a country. Among believers, the chance of appearing ninja qualifications is +30%, the chance of Chunin qualifications is +10%, and the chance of Jōnin qualifications is +1%.11. As soon as Tanakuni's capital was captured, Ishida Maimon used wood style to build a shrine on the square of the capital. Naturally, Ishida Xinkai also got a prompt from the system at the same time. The chance of birthing a ninja is increased by 30%, among which the birth rate of Chunin is increased by 10%, and the probability of Jōnin is increased by 1%. That is to say, among ninjas in other countries, Jōnin accounts for 1%, and mine is 2%. Ishida Xinkai said excitedly after listening to the system's prompt. Of course, that's not all. What he's more interested in is that the chance of birthing a ninja increases by 30%. What's the concept of 30%? With the number of ninjas in the village and the elite warriors of the Iron Kingdom, he is only 80,000. There are hundreds of millions of people in the world. In comparison, the birth rate of ninjas is obviously less than 1%. And within the range controlled by the Ishida family, as long as they believe in Ishida Xinkai and are loyal to the Ishida family, there is at least a 30% chance of giving birth to a ninja. Moreover, the descendants of ninjas will have a greater chance of becoming ninjas. According to this ratio, within a few generations, all believers of Ishida Xinkai will have the potential to become ninjas. You know, the total number of believers in Ishida Shinkai's belief panel has reached 80,000. Even if the number does not increase or decrease after several generations, there are still 80,000 ninjas. Adding in the 1% who have Jōnin qualifications, then there will be 7 or 800 Jōnins alone. If this kind of thing is said, I am afraid that the 5 major congresses will try their best to rob people. But of course Ishida Xinkai will not wait until 100 years later to let people see how many ninjas he has. With cheats, of course we must make good use of them. After the construction of the shrine in the capital city of Tanakuni is completed, Ishida Xinkai can descend directly to the shrine in the capital city. With the movement of Ishida Shinkai's eyes, the surrounding scene began to change, and it turned into the capital of Tianjigua. Immediately afterwards, Ishida Xinkai heard Ishida Meimang's condolences. My lord ancestors, my Mang begs your lord ancestors to lead my sons to ascend to bliss. It is very similar to the original Shinong city, but this time Ishida Meimang prayed to Ishida Xinkai instead of Ishida Konkari. After the last time, Ishida Sorikari made up with a few people, and with Ishida Shinkai's constant guidance, they found that their ancestors seemed to enjoy people's incense offerings, so they simply took the opportunity to occupy the capital, so do it again. That's right, these guys enlightened quickly. Ishida Xinkai looked at Ishida Meimang who was bowing down, and nodded in satisfaction. Many times he wanted to ask his children to give him more incense in his dreams, but pointing at it was out of face, so he was ashamed to keep his attitude down so low that he didn't expect them to really understand his own thoughts. This time the attack on the capital of the Tian Kingdom. Although the battle ended quickly, the casualties were much greater than the last time. The corpses of thousands of Sinong city warriors were cleaned up. System. Open the spiritual path and extradite these souls. Looking down, Ishida Xinkai knew that these were worshippers, even fanatical worshippers, who contributed a lot of incense value to him every day, so he would naturally not give up on these people. Advertisement: the distance is beyond the coverage of the ancestral hall and cannot be crossed. As soon as Ishida Xinkai finished speaking, the system immediately gave a prompt. Too far? Ishida Xinkai was taken aback. It seems that this 100 spiritual powers cannot be spared. Fortunately, I didn't use up all the spiritual powers. Ishida Xinkai curled his lips. He had already guessed that there might be such a result, and secretly said happily. He has now reached 39 points of spiritual power that he can harvest every day. Even if he runs out, he doesn't have to worry about being unable to respond to the prayers of his descendants. At worst, he can use the Chakra Simulation Projection Stone and Blood Jade to make a battle. Target: Miyako Shrine. To build the Shrine of the Ancestors, Ishida Xinkai murmured, and the shrine quickly raised a beam of light soaring to the sky. The people who gathered in the capital city below were taken aback. Although they had heard of the strange phenomenon in the shrine in Sinong City, they had never seen it before, so they were all skeptical. Now this scene is obviously much more shocking than what those people in Sinong City said. The beam of light didn't last long, and it was about to dissipate. Yu Xinkai opened the spiritual path directly. A huge portal appeared in the sky, and it opened in exchange. The Lisianthus flower, which symbolizes love, floats out from the portal and sprinkles fluorescent light on thousands of corpses. Then people saw thousands of figures emerging from the fluorescent light, each with a peaceful face, and flew into the portal of the sky following the traction. It wasn't until the last figure entered it that the portal began to close and finally disappeared. The opening of the spiritual way this time consumed nearly 100 points of Ishida Shinkai's spiritual power, plus the 100 points consumed for the construction of the Ancestral Guardian Shrine. Really made him a little distressed. However, if there is a contribution, there will be a report, and the system will prompt again. Ding. After receiving the incense sacrifice, the incense value +1. Currently, I have 1451 incense points. Ding. After receiving the incense sacrifice, the incense value +1. Currently, I have 1452 incense points. Ding. Received incense sacrifice, incense value +1. Currently has incense value 1453 points 4.6. As expected by Ishida Xinkai, although there are still some people who have not reacted yet, the number of his believers has begun to increase crazily. In the blink of an eye, the total number of people actually exceeded 100,000. It's terrible. There are so many people in the capital. The growth rate of this belief is really an exaggeration. Ishida Xinkai looked at his soaring data and couldn't help sighing. Not only that, his incense value has also reached more than 20,000, which also makes Ishida Xinkai more excited, because these are future continuous income. The capital is finished, and the next one is the Iron Kingdom. We need to prepare some big gifts for the children. After a pause, Ishida Xinkai said cheerfully, seeing the number of believers who were still growing rapidly and the value of incense. 66. In the capital city of Tian Country, Ishida Xinkai performed miracles again, and the number of believers increased by 50,000. Ishida Shinkai's divine power also broke through to more than 1,200 points. That night, Ishida Xinkai didn't give anyone a dream, nor did he continue to set boundaries for anyone. Instead, the panel of the Ancestral Guardian Hall was called up. Ancestral Hall Undead, 1397 Ghost. 0 Battle Spirit. 0 The panel of the Ancestral Hall is opened, and there is also a self-panel inside, which is to see the information of the Ancestral Hall in each shrine. System. If all these undead are transformed into ghosts, how much divine power will it cost me? Ishida Xinkai looked at the number of more than 1,000 and asked quickly. Originally, he was a little swollen because the divine power had recovered to more than 1,000 points, but suddenly he began to worry a little whether the divine power would be insufficient. Ding! It takes 0.1 point of divine power to transform a spirit. Sure enough, the system gave the answer, but obviously Ishida Shinkai's worries were unnecessary. His divine power missiles were enough, and he still had 1,001 balance. Transform. Transform them all into spirits. Hearing this, Ishida Xinkai naturally no longer hesitated, and immediately urged the system to say. The system said before that Yinlings can be transformed into Jōnin-level war spirits, and they are not afraid of being killed by swords. It is perfect for dealing with those bastards from the Iron Kingdom. Not only Admiral of the Iron Kingdom wanted to cut Ishida's family into pieces, but even Ishida Xinkai himself wanted to run over to destroy the Iron Kingdom himself. Obviously, Ishida Xinkai still can't forget the incident of being hunted down by the Iron Kingdom decades ago. I don't know what happened to the Miyamoto family. If there are any descendants, they must be killed by Xiaoshou. Ishida Xinkai was so angry that the roots of his teeth itched when he thought of the family behind his wife who chased after her regardless of family affection. Ding! Consumed 139.7 of the divine power, transformed successfully. Ding! Found a blue-level spirit, and transformed it into a first-level battle spirit. Ding! Found a purple-grade spirit, which can be transformed into a second-level battle spirit. At this time, the system transforms all the undead into ghosts that can continue to provide incense value to Ishida Xinkai, and also awakens Ishida Xinkai from her memories. What the hell? A first-level and second-level battle spirit? Looking at the system prompt, Ishida Xinkai was a little confused. To transform into a war spirit, you need a blue-quality spirit. The first-level war spirit is Jōnin-level, with 5 attribute ninjutsu. It needs to consume 30 points of divine power. Blue-level spirits *1. The second-level battle spirit is Kage-level, and it comes with a random ability, props, and talents from all realms. The degree of belief in the Ancestor spirit is increased to 5 body projection, and it needs to consume 1,000 points of divine power. Purple Yinling *1. The third-level battle spirit is the 6 paths level, with its own yin and yang escape technique, and a myriad of world abilities, props, and talents. It needs to consume 30,000 points of divine spirit power to increase the belief in ancestor spirits to reverence for gods. Golden Yinling *1 After Ishida Xinkai asked, a reminder immediately appeared in his mind. Shadow, Kage-level war spirit? Looking at the strength of the second-level battle spirit, Ishida Xinkai felt that his heart almost jumped out. It stands to reason that Ishida Sora has the Mangekyo blood wheel eye, and it is eternal, which can already compete with Kage-level, but after all, it is not a pupil technique that is born with it, and Ishida Xinkai has never used that thing himself. Do not know how to guide. Advertisement So Ishida Sora has not yet figured out how to use Susanoo. Originally, I planned to save some spiritual power to exchange for the gate fruit, and the door escaped blood continued to limit the boundary to steal the stone tablet from the Uchiha clan. But it is not necessary now, because I can create a Kage-level right away. Kage-level. I'm really looking forward to it. Taking a deep breath, Ishida Xinkai said expectantly from the game. As he spoke, Ishida Xinkai clicked into the Yinling population, and his eyes quickly fell on a purple name. Name, Chungtsuan Yui Identity, Ling, Ishida family, **X, male belief status, fanatical worship, 1 incense value is fixed every day. Huh. The descendants of the Hamura clan? The Hamura clan who were able to compete with the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan at the beginning, but now the descendants have become servants of my Ishida family. Looking at the name of the ghost, Ishida Xinkai was really surprised. After all, Ishida Xinkai is a character from the era of Konoha Butsuma and Uchiha Taijima, and naturally knows the struggle between the three clans. In the memory of Ishida Xinkai, since the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan made friends, the Hamura clan disappeared, and it was unexpected that there are still descendants alive. System, how is the level of that ghost determined? It can't be random, right? Ishida Xinkai asked the system curiously if he could know how the level of Yin spirits came from. Maybe he could mass-produce Kaga-level war spirits. It requires the undead to have the potential to become Kaga-level, a high degree of belief, or conditions to be met. The potential to become a Kaga-level? The conditions to become a Kaga-level? What are the conditions for this descendant of the Yui clan to become an influence? 610 Ishida Xinkai frowned. For the original Yui clan, he really didn't see any characteristics. In his opinion, it was a miracle that the Yui clan was able to participate in the struggle between the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. However, in the ninja world, someone with a bit of top-level blood can become a god in one fell swoop, and Ishida Xinkai didn't struggle too much. Transformation. Target. Yumura Chungtsuin is transformed into a second-level battle spirit. He glanced at that he still had 1,010 points of divine power, and immediately said to the system, with 1,000 points of spiritual power, he can pile up a Kaga level even if he stacks Chakra. What Ishida Xinkai expects is that the second-level war spirit will randomly come with an ability from the 10,000 worlds as the blood succession limit. He somewhat expects that he will be the first what will be the blood inheritance limit of a war spirit. Spirit power minus 1,000. Ding. The transformation is successful. Congratulations to Zhu Ling for obtaining the second-level battle spirit *1. Name, Chungtsuin Yui Identity, Ling, Ishida Family Grade, Purple *X, Male Belief Status, 5 Body Surrender, 30 Incense Points are provided every day. Talent, Extreme Ghost Sword, Extreme Ghost Sword Art, in the game Dungeon and Warriors, the awakened sword skill of the Juggernaut profession. 67. The first battle spirit appeared, and the number behind the battle spirit on the panel of the ancestral hall became 1. Ishida Xinkai clicked into it, and a figure appeared in front of Ishida Xinkai. With silver-gray hair, a loose hunting suit, and silver-white sword intent wrapped in both hands, at first glance, it seems that the palms of his hands are white. Ishida Xinkai knew that this represented the relationship that he had cultivated the swordsmanship to a very deep level, and the sword intent had already involuntarily protected the arm of the Juggernaut. Extreme Ghost Sword Technique? Disconnecting things in the city? This is amazing. When the 24 swords of the storm style fall, no one in the entire ninja world will be able to resist it. Ishida Xinkai looked at Yui Chungtsuin's information panel, was taken aback, and then said excitedly, as a game professional sword master in the game, just enough to become a saint, one can imagine how powerful the swordsmanship is. System, this battle spirit has also come out. How should my clansmen summon the war spirit to fight? Immediately afterwards, Ishida Xinkai continued to ask about the system. Things have to be done step by step. Now that the war spirits are all there, and they are still at Kaga level, Ishida Xinkai can't wait to watch the group of Iron Kingdom who claim to be the best in martial arts. The warriors were hanged and beaten. The system did not answer directly, but unlocked a new ability for Ishida Xinkai again. Cage of Ancestral Spirits. The exclusive ability of the Ancestors, which can consume the power of the gods and implant all the clansmen and servants. After the implantation, it will be permanently effective, and the Ancestors can obtain the movements of the implanted people, and its soul can be recovered. Price and Divine Power. It takes 10 Divine Power to use on one person. The Ancestral Hall is built to protect the Ancestors and the Ancestors. Those who are implanted in the cage of the Ancestors can directly communicate with the Ancestors through prayers, and then through summoning, the Ancestors choose to come to the battle spirits to help. The battle spirit comes from the summoner, so it doesn't consume the power of the gods. After the summoner dies, the battle spirit will be forced to return to the ancestral hall within 30 minutes. The death of the war spirit needs to consume the power of the gods to resurrect. The system gave an answer, and Ishida Xinkai, who thought it would cost a lot of money, was really taken aback. It's so good. Don't need divine power? Ishida Xinkai frowned. and immediately grinned. No matter what, it is of course the best not to consume the power of the gods. Without hesitation, Ishida Xinkai entered Ishida Sorikari's dream that night. Because of the addition of a strategizing relationship in the state, Ishida Sorikari's dream has also changed. Beside Ishida Sakari, Ishida Xinkai seems to have seen countless countries surrender, and Ishida Sakari seems to be pointing the scene. This guy, the Kingdom of Iron started daydreaming before it was killed, Ishida Xinkai pouted, is planning to move forward. Suddenly, the sky and the earth suddenly changed, and a huge warrior tens of feet high chopped down towards Ishida Sora. It almost shattered Ishida Sora's dream. This is Susanoo? Looking at the samurai, Ishida Xinkai was taken aback for a moment, not expecting this guy to figure out this thing so soon. The next moment, the dream was shattered, Ishida Sakari was awakened, and Ishida Xinkai was also forced out of the dream. I haven't mastered it yet. I should have touched the threshold. That's why I was affected by the pupil technique and saw Susanoo. Advertisement. Ishida Xinkai looked at the shocked Ishida Sora and immediately guessed the current state of Ishida Sora. After realizing that he was dreaming, Ishida Sorikari fell asleep again, and Ishida Xinkai also used dreamlike magic to enter Ishida Sorikari's dream again. This time, Susanoo still appeared again. But Ishida Xinkai didn't want to waste any more divine power. In my dream, I was so scared by my own ability that I really wanted to change you. Looking at the terrified Ishida Sora, Ishida said angrily beside him. This voice. Ishida Sorikari was startled and quickly looked towards Ishida Xinkai. Looking at the figure of Ishida Xinkai, Ishida Sakari immediately knelt down without any hesitation. Unworthy descendants, I have met Grandpa. Ishida Xinkai hurriedly bowed to Ishida Xinkai. In his eyes, this old ancestor was much stronger than that warrior phantom. Look carefully, that samurai is the ability I bestowed on you, not here to cut you down. Ishida Xinkai curled her lips, although she was a little annoyed, but there was nothing she could do. My ability? Ishida Sorikari was a little surprised. During this period of time, he had been having this nightmare and was awakened every time. And now he heard his ancestor say that it was his own ability. But this time, with Ishida Xinkai by his side, Ishida Sakari also has the confidence to face it. I saw the samurai stabbing down with a knife, tearing the air, although Ishida Sakari was afraid, but Ishida Sakari still held his confidence and did not retreat, and saw that short sword pierce the ground in front of Ishida Sakari. Then, the warrior actually knelt down on one knee towards him. It's true, Ishida Sorikari exclaimed. His eyes instantly turned blood red, and he turned at the same time, and the samurai quickly disappeared. At the same time, Ishida Sorari seemed to have some understanding in his heart. As the eyes turned, a phantom of a skeleton warrior with only a huge upper body appeared on Ishida Sora. That thing is called Susanoo. Think about it for yourself. I have a good thing for you today. Ishida Xinkai saw that there was only a skeleton shape, and was a little dissatisfied, so he interrupted Ishida Sora, and continued, Good stuff. Hearing Ishida Shinkai's words, Ishida Sorikari was overjoyed. Every time the ancestors came, there would be some special changes, and even this time was no exception. Just entering that strange state, he seemed to feel that he had unparalleled strength. But when the ancestors said so, there are still good things, and Ishida Sorikari immediately looked forward to it. At this moment, Ishida Xinkai does not have the majesty of Ishida's patriarch. In front of Ishida Xinkai, he is like a child waiting for sugar. Ishida Xinkai didn't explain immediately, but first planted an ancestral cage for Ishida Kongsho. Although this thing is used for surveillance, it can also be used to protect these bloodlines and the seedlings in the clan. I planted something for you. When the time comes, you just need to call out in your heart, and I will send a Kage-level to help you out. You and Youngdu Dadong also talk about it. Ishida Xinkai said casually as if arranging trivial matters. Oh, helper. Ishida Sorikari nodded, and said indifferently, but the next moment, his expression changed. Wait, you mean Kage-level? Can you send Kage-level to help out? Ishida Sakari originally thought that Ishida Xinkai would just say Jōnin, but he didn't expect that the exit would be Kage-level, and he was the one who sent it kind. Sending Kage-level, how powerful should my ancestor be? Ishida Xinkai couldn't even imagine it. Don't talk so much nonsense, don't be complacent because of a little achievement. My great-grandson friend, he didn't tell you. I also gave him some good things, and when he can fully use his mastery, it won't hurt to smash your Susanoo question. Ishida Xinkai rolled his eyes, thinking of the shock escape he bestowed on Ishida's friend. he said, meaningfully. 68. Early the next morning, the news that the capital of Tanakuni was destroyed was sent back to Ishida's house. But that's to be expected. Ishida Sakari is staring at his son Ishida's friend right now. He is the only one left in the third generation of the Ishida family who is still supporting the Ishida family, and in the fourth generation, apart from the Ishida zygote who has no cultivation talent, only Ishida's friend and Ishida Maemong are considered adults. The other ones, the oldest of which are only 11 or 12 years old, in his opinion, need to be taken care of for the time being. Ishida Maemong and Yong-do were summoned by their ancestors and gained unusual abilities. Only his son and friend, Ishida Sorikari, are a little worried. This kid is very similar to him. He has always wanted to be strong since he was a child. He also worries that his friend will be hit when he becomes the tail of the crane in the clan. But yesterday, a word from his ancestor completely made him let go of his worries. Father, what do you want from me? Why are you looking at me like that? Not only was Ishida's friend Chakra promoted to the level of Jōnin by Ishida Xinkai, but since he obtained the shock escape, he felt that his strength had been terribly amplified by the shock escape. With his current physical strength, he can directly lift a stone weighing several tons. After Blackbeard acquired the ability of Shock Fruit, he possessed the strength of the four emperors, not only because of the vibration of Shock Fruit, but also the terrifying increase of Shock Fruit's power. Shockdun has inherited all the power of Shock Fruit, and it can not only cause shocks, but its power has also been greatly increased. Although it is scary to step into Blackbeard due to physical limitations, it is enough to compete with any Jōnin-level taijutsu ninja. Boy, are you still pretending to be here with me? The old man told me in a dream yesterday. Ishida Kongsho saw that Ishida's friend was going to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger, and immediately yelled and cursed. He is very clear that every appearance of the old ancestor will bring great opportunities to the Ishida family, from Ishida Maemong to himself, then Ishida Yong-do, and finally Ishida Dadong. Everyone who has dreamed of the old man, one by one it has reached a level enough to easily obliterate Jōnin and even fight Kage level. And Ishida's friend dreamed about his ancestor again this time, and he also began to look forward to it. That's it. It turns out that the ancestors have already told you, and I plan to give you a surprise. When Ishida's friend heard this, he blushed a little and then said with a smile, "It's not a surprise, it's a shock. Tell me, what did your ancestor tell you in your dream?" Ishida Sorikari glanced at Ishida's friend. He seemed to see the shadow of himself when he was young from the other person, but he still asked eagerly. Master Ancestor bestowed on me a blood successor boundary called Zhenduan. He said that if I cultivated to the ultimate level, it could cause vibrations in the space, and a single blow could shatter the space. Ishida spread his hands and said with a modesty. However, Ishida Sorikari saw a lot of pride from his face, as if he was saying to Nobuaka Sakari, "The ancestor treated you as a grandson better than me, my great-grandson. Space is shattered." Listening to his son's words, Ishida Sokari's mind is still echoing the last words that Ishida Xinkai told him at that time. Sure enough, Grandpa is right. You can really easily destroy my Susanoo in the future. Ishida Sorikari said a little depressed. He had thought that he would be bravely crossed and surpassed by Dadong, but he didn't expect to be hit by his son first. The ancestor said that Susanoo's complete body is already Super Kage level, and you can break my sequel. Could it be the 6 paths level mentioned by the ancestor? Ishida Sorikari paused, and suddenly looked at Ishida's friend and asked. Advertisement: the 6 paths level is a level he has never heard of in the second population. He heard it from his father when he was a child next to Ishida's new, abj, legs. He thought it was a joke made up by the old man, but now it seems that it may be true. In the future, I can grow to the 6 paths level. Good. I didn't expect that. My son has the capital of 6 paths. Ishida Sorikari immediately grinned, causing the servants outside to be stunned and glanced at each other, but they didn't understand what the 6 paths level meant. After tidying up and integrating the capital of the Iron Country, Ishida Sakari ordered the dispatch of troops to the Iron Country. Even he personally dispatched to supervise the battle. Attacking the country of Iron is different from attacking the capital of the country of Fields. After all, the capital of the country of Tion is still in the country of Tion, but the attack on the country of Iron is destined to not end in a day or two. The long distance alone cannot be conquered in a short time. Everyone is waiting for what kind of method the Iron Kingdom will use to thwart the attack of the Ishida's army. However, they were not members of Ishida's family. They didn't know that Ishida Sakari had no intention of letting those troops attack. All they need is for the troops to deal with the aftermath. Ishida Sorikari himself still can't forget the few news that his ancestor brought to him that night. Ishida Sorikari was in a daze at the time. Then it became consternation, and finally excitement. Ishida Sakari never imagined that he would have so many emotions one day. But it is true. Not only that, but one or two people came to the main house every day to report that they had reached the level of Jōnin's chakra. Adding up now, the number of Jōnin in Ishida's family is more than 40. But what excites Ishida Sorikari even more is that the ancestor mentioned that prayer. He can ask Kage-level to help out. If he is not afraid that his ancestor will be angry, he even wants to summon a Kage-level to fight against himself right now. Let yourself see how far you are from Kage-level research. At the same time, on Konoha's side, Umbu has also gathered in Hokage's office. Master Hokage, the army of the Ishida family has gone to the Iron Kingdom, and the head of the Ishida family is personally supervising the battle. Reported by Aburame Ryota Gong. Let's go. Don't leave anyone alive. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, and then his eyes fell on the two Umbu ninjas wearing animal masks next to him. Sarutobi Ring Day, you and Uchiha Kagami will lead people to stop the elite of Ishida's family. Yes. Master Hokage. 69. Ishida Sorikari personally led the team. Ishida Yuto and Ishida Maimon assisted, and almost took away most of the ninjas in Ishida's family. Admiral Miyamoto, City of Iron, obviously still remembered the ancestral precepts passed down by his ancestors for nearly 100 years, and also sent a large number of troops to directly station at the border between the country of Iron and the country of Tion. This will be big enough to attract the entire ninja. The Kingdom of Iron, which has maintained neutrality for hundreds of years, is about to fight against the suddenly rising Ishida family. This is a new challenge to the old, and it is also the end of a century-old grievance. Although no country has the habit of making historical records, some people's oral traditions have also revealed what Xinkai did in the past. From Ishida Xinkai to various countries to challenge, and then abducted the eldest daughter of the Miyamoto family in the Iron Country, and was chased and killed by the warriors of the Iron Country and the eldest princess admirers. What? But for contemporary young people, it seems to be a legend. For a time, people had mixed opinions on Ishida Xinkai. Some old people and dignitaries ridiculed Ishida Xinkai for being stupid at the beginning, for offending a clan of Iron Country warriors for a woman. And some young people lamented that Ishida Xinkai himself is a legend, and his descendants will also be regarded as legends. The Country of the Wind. I don't know what Kazekage-sama thinks about this matter. In Hidden Sand Village, someone asked the second Kazekage above. The Land of the Winds was the only one that did not participate in the ninja war at the beginning, and second Kazekage is also the only second-generation shadow that is still alive among the countries. It's nothing more than self-control. Although it is not a ninja, the Admiral of the Iron Country is nothing more than a ninja family from a small country can deal with it. With a wave of his hand, the Kingdom of Wind is half a world away from the Kingdom of Iron, and second Kazekage can't accurately determine the background of Ishida's family. However, if the Kingdom of Tion did not come out, the Kingdom of Fire will definitely have a headache. We can send more troops to the Kingdom of Rain and take this opportunity to weaken the power of the Kingdom of Fire. Second Kazekage paused for a moment, then continued. He did not participate in the First Ninja World War, and the Kingdom of Wind has accumulated a lot of background information. So naturally, he did not want to let go of this opportunity to attack the Nation of Fire. The general idea of the Country of Earth is not much different from that of the Country of Wind. No matter which side wins or loses between the Country of Iron and the Country of Fields, it will have little impact on them. The army of the Ishida family confronts the samurai of the Iron Kingdom at the border. Facing an army several times larger than his own, Kitano Taro was nervous, but he breathed a sigh of relief when he thought of the 20 Jōnin in the army. 20 Jōnins are a terrifying force in any country. He really couldn't understand how the Ishida family managed to suddenly have 20 more Jōnins. But don't think about it if you don't understand it. Taro Kitano directly attributed all the reasons to the ancestors of the Ishida family. However, Ishida Konkari and the others were not with those samurai, but took the ninjas of Ishida's family directly into the hinterland of the Iron Kingdom, and came outside the capital of the Iron Kingdom. This is the capital of the Iron Kingdom. Although Ishida Dadong did not follow, he sent 2 tribesmen to help Ishida Kongsho and them lead the way. After all, Ishida's family was banned from entering the Iron Kingdom decades ago. Even Ishida Sakari entered the Iron Kingdom for the first time. How would anyone know the location of the Iron Kingdom's capital? Compared with the capital city of Tion Country, its background can be seen just from the city walls of Iron Country. A city wall over 50 meters high is far from comparable to that of Tianjigua, which is more than 10 meters high. There is also a 10-meter wide moat around the outside. The wide suspension bridge is made of dozens of 1-meter diameter wood nailed together and then covered with a layer of steel, which is enough to support more than 10 tons of heavy objects. Not only that, but there are also warriors in silver armor lined up on the city wall, each of whom is a master of sword intent. Advertisement. Not only that, there is also a cannon and a heavy crossbow placed in the rear. Although the Iron Country has never been disturbed by war, the defense of the capital has never been weakened. There are artillery. Ishida Xinkai looked at the weapon of war on the city wall from a distance and couldn't help being surprised. And there are so many. No wonder the Iron Nation has the courage to not want ninjas. It was also the first time for Ishida Yudo, who was next to him, to see so many artillery pieces and couldn't help sighing. The power of artillery is already comparable to the ninjutsu of ordinary ninjas, and it does not consume chakra. It may not be as maneuverable as ninjas in warfare, but as a defensive side, a large number of artillery is indeed no worse than ninjas. Not enough. These guys obviously don't think we have wood style. Ishida Maimong next to him sneered. To deal with these powerful long-range devices, his wood style ninjutsu is undoubtedly the best means. As he said that, Ishida Maimong planned to approach the city to prepare for the wood-style ninjutsu siege. At this moment, the artillery suddenly turned its muzzle and aimed at Ishida Xinkai and them. Zero. Boom. Boom. A series of cannons sounded, and the dense shells quickly rushed towards the ninjas of Ishida's house. Discovered. Ishida Xinkai stared and let out a low cry. It's too late to finish the seal. Ishida Maimong looked at the projectiles that were thrown. Her face tightened, and she said seriously, "The individual power of those cannonballs is probably just the explosion of a detonating talisman, but there are so many cannonballs, and they will explode. It is not suitable for defensive ninjutsu, and it is obviously difficult for them to dodge. Moreover, the shells are thrown. Even if he uses wood style, there is no time to intercept them. Just prepare wood style." Ishida Xinkai next to him suddenly said something. Immediately afterwards, Ishida Xinkai's face changed, and his eyes entered the state of Mangekyo Sharingan and began to rotate rapidly. Then everyone felt a flash before their eyes, and a huge purple-gray barrier appeared around them. However, on the city wall in the distance, Miyamoto Chuan, who was sneering, and the soldiers guarding the city, saw a huge dark purple skeleton phantom appearing out of thin air in the distance. This is Susanoo of the Uchiha clan. At this time, among a group of ninjas wearing animal masks in the distance, one of them couldn't help but exclaimed, "70. The ninjas of Konoha Umbu in the distance never thought of the people from the Ishida family in front of them. Not only has wood-style ninjutsu, but also the legendary secret art of the Uchiha family. How is this possible? Susanoo is the symbol that opens the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan. How can these Ishida family members have a Sharingan, and it is still a Mangekyo Sharingan?" Looking at the skeleton Su-ing in front of him, the Umbu ninja's tone was unbelievable. "Master Mirror, you mean Mangekyo Sharingan?" Looking at his companion, Sarutobi Hibiki asked curiously. The others were also extremely surprised. They have never heard of such a Sharingan. Isn't the Uchiha family only in 2 forms? 1 Goyu and 3 Tomo Sharingan? 563 Mangekyo Sharingan is a legendary existence. Even I have never seen it with my own eyes. However, I have seen it from the historical stone tablet of our Uchiha clan. According to legend, after the Mangekyo Sharingan is opened, it will unlock an extremely terrifying ability, which is regarded as the power of God by our people. That's Susanoo. Uchiha Kagami called out a name seriously. This name is not only those Umbu ninjas, even for him, it is also an extremely distant name. Susanoo? Everyone was taken aback. When they heard the name again, they knew that it was a symbol of God's power. The way they looked at the skeleton also changed. Boom, boom. At the same time, the shells gushing out from the artillery also bombarded Susanoo, and the flames and smoke generated by the continuous explosions instantly submerged the huge figure. But when the explosion ended and the smoke dissipated, it was discovered that the huge skeleton hadn't suffered the slightest damage. This was blocked safely and soundly. Sarutobi Hibiki stared and said with some astonishment, even if he hadn't arranged ninjutsu to resist the explosion of at least dozens of shells, it would be difficult for him to survive. This is Susanoo, the legend. Susanoo possesses invincible defense and invincible zhongwu. Uchiha Kagami said in a solemn tone, at the same time, staring at the purple-gray giant below. All of a sudden, everyone was silent. But at this moment, the earth shook, and vines sprang out from the ground rapidly and gathered into trees continuously. After a few breaths, outside the capital of the Iron Kingdom, a large forest taller than Susanoo has already formed. Even the vines near the city wall were still spreading along the city wall, covering the tens of meters high city wall, blocking the view of the warriors above. Without a wide field of vision, the artillery and heavy crossbows defending the city of the Iron Kingdom lost their effect in an instant. Seeing that the artillery lost its effect after only one round of firing, Miyamoto-chan's expression sank. "Chop off all these trunks." Miyamoto-chan gave a low drink and ordered. He didn't use oil drums to burn these vines. He knew about the army's fighting situation in the country of Tian, and these vines were controlled by people. Advertisement: if he really ignited these vines, the ignited vines would be even more dangerous to them. After all, there are still countless shells on the city wall. Once they are ignited, they don't need to face each other. They can blow up the city wall by themselves. At the same time, looking at the gushing trees and vines, Sarutobi Hibiki's face became serious. "Everyone, be sure to kill all the opponents and recover the corpses. Otherwise, the sleepy leaves are very likely to be threatened," Sarutobi Hibari said, and the figure quickly disappeared in place. The others didn't say much, and quickly followed. Everyone knows that what style represents the unique identity of the founder of Konoha, and that Mangekyo Sharingan is even more about the secret of the Uchiha clan. In the hands of others is always a threat to Konoha. Umbu's ninjas soon flanked Ishida Sora. Miyamoto didn't dare to use flames, but that didn't mean they didn't dare. Uchiha Kagami first shot Zero. Siwation Haiwuin, a series of mudras are completed between breaths. Fire style Great Fireball Technique. As a basic ninjutsu created by the Uchiha clan and must be mastered by the clan, the Great Fireball Technique can be extremely powerful with the output of Chakra. And Uchiha Kagami is a character of the same generation as Sarutobi Hiruzen, and his strength has naturally reached the level of elite Jōnin. The powerful chakra control makes the diameter of the Great Fireball Technique exceed 2 meters, and the center is extremely hot. The huge fireball directly broke through the trees and vines, and exploded a crater more than 2 meters above Zhao Jing on the ground. The fiery flame even quickly ignited the nearby trees. And the aftermath of the fireball explosion was also blocked by Susanoo, so it caused damage to Ishida Xinkai and the others. There are enemies. Ishida Sorikari and others were immediately alarmed by the explosion. Everyone looked around and found that a group of ninjas were attacking, and Ishida Sora looked at the figures wearing masks and covered in black cloaks, and his complexion changed suddenly. He couldn't forget that it was this kind of dress that attacked him and caused him serious injuries. Sure enough, you people from the Fire Nation have always been playing tricks. Looking at those Umbu ninjas at 3.9, Ishida Sora gave a low snort. Except for the ninjas of Konoha in the country of fire, there is no ninja from that country who can use the Great Fireball Technique to such an ultimate. Sure enough, it's me, the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. UB******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Looking into Ishida Sorikari's eyes, Uchiha Kagame's body trembled, and he asked excitedly. At the same time, Miyamoto Chuan on the city wall also noticed the movement in the distance, and his face immediately became happy. It seems that we are not the only ones who dislike the Ishida family. Come on, let those ninjas see how powerful our Iron Country warriors are. With a sneer, Miyamoto Chuan quickly led people out. All of a sudden, the ninjas of Ishida's family were caught in a dilemma. 71. The legendary Uchiha clan? Listening to Uchiha Kagame's question, Ishida Sorikari also immediately became interested and looked at Uchiha Kagame in front of him in surprise. He originally thought that his ancestor got an eye out of nowhere and pretended to be Sharingan, and often compared it with those Uchiha clan's one-pointed jade and three-pointed jade, but he didn't expect this to be the legendary eye of the Uchiha clan. Moreover, looking at the other party's excited appearance, squinting is still very rare. Even in the Uchiha clan, there should not be many. It's a big deal. Ishida Kongsari was secretly delighted, and at the same time sighed. What kind of existence is his ancestor? Not only can he send Kage-level to help out, but he even has the legendary eyes of the Uchiha clan. Remember, the ancestors once said that this is not a simple eye, but a blood inheritance limit. That is to say, my descendants may also awaken the Sharingan in the future? Ishida Sorikari murmured to himself. He was already hesitating whether to marry another concubine to test it. But it's just a matter of thinking, since my grandma passed away early, and the old man never found another one in his life. So of course he didn't dare to continue the string casually. Because Ishida Xinkai was planted in the cage of the ancestral spirit, his current thoughts were perceived by Ishida Xinkai. Knowing Ishida Sorikari's worries, Ishida Xinkai couldn't help but come down and beat him to death. Ishida Xinkai values affection and did not marry a second one, but in his opinion, the more offspring the better. If Ishida Sora and the others can really marry a few more, and then give birth to 100 or 80 children, Ishida Xinkai will be happy it's too late. The population is thriving. The population is thriving. If you play Dink, how can the population thrive? At the same time, other Umbu ninjas rushed over. Without saying a word, he directly launched an attack on Susanoo of Ishida Sorikari. Dragon, Fireball, Soil Spurs. More than a dozen masked Umbu ninjas quickly unleashed various ninjutsu one by one, overwhelming them. Ishida Xinkai's Susanoo is only in the first state after all. Although the defense is very strong, it can't stand such a frantic bombardment. For a while, the phantom trembled continuously and began to become dim. Jiha cut. At this moment, a low-pitched voice came from behind. In Meng flashed past, and a sword energy quickly hit Ishida Sora's Susanoo. The huge sword slash became the crushing straw. Under the slash of the huge sword energy, the phantom of the huge forehead skeleton disappeared quickly. Iron Country University, Miyamatagawa. Seeing that figure, the two warriors sent by Ishida Dadong, who came along with him, suddenly became condensed. In the Iron Country, martial arts are paramount, and people respect powerlessness. Every family and everyone's status is defended by force. Even in many cities in the Iron Country, the entire population has become soldiers. Advertisement, it is not comparable to those countries that rely on the control of nobles. As the admiral of the Iron Country, Miyamatagawa's strength is naturally beyond doubt. Even as a neutral country, being able to participate in the Five Kages talks is enough to see the strength of the Iron Country. The sword energy change just now was released by Miyamoto Chuan. Through the way of the sword, Chakra was thrown out from the blade, which was mixed with strong sword intent, forming a huge sword energy several feet long. It is enough to explain his ability to comprehend the way of the sword. After Miyamatagawa came, he didn't speak, but stared at Ishida Sora. People from the Ishida family dare to attack my capital. You are dead. Looking at Ishida Sora, Miyamatagawa said coldly, hundreds of years of enmity will end today. The Umbu people did not speak in the distance. Their task was to cooperate with the Iron Kingdom to destroy the Ishida family, just to get in touch with Konoha's confidant, not to help the Iron Kingdom to defend against the enemy, is it? Faced with such pressure, even if Susanoo was defeated, Ishida Sorikari would not rush into the hinterland of the Iron Kingdom without any cards. After Ishida Sorikari's voice fell, the 20 ninjas present all used the body flicker technique and quickly dispersed, and the remaining 100 ninjas also surrounded and suppressed those Umbu's people. Ishida Sorikari has always been on guard against Konoha's attack, but unexpectedly, he really guessed it. What? These guys got so many Jōnin? Seeing that those ninjas from the Ishida family were able to use the advanced body flicker technique, even the dark ones were taken aback. They were already shocked when they knew that Ishida's family had 20 Jōnins before, but they didn't expect that those 20 Jōnins were left in the army, and there are still 20 Jōnins here. Calculated in this way, there are 40 Jōnin in the Ishida family, and this power is enough to scare the 5 great powers. It's only been 2 months since Ishida's rise. Not only has with style and 470 Sharingan, but 40 Jōnin have appeared. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hibiki looked at the Ishida family ninja ahead with horror in his eyes. 40 Jōnin were created in 2 months. Even if it only reached the level of Chakra, this is an extremely terrifying existence. Be sure to kill them all. Everyone in Umbu panicked because of Konoha, and following Sarutobi's order, those ninjas wanted to cooperate. But the servants of the Ishida family, whose number was several times that of Umbu ninjas, had already pounced on them. Ishida Sorikari ignored it, and just stared at Uchiha Kagami in front of him. After all, the other party also has a Sharingan, and he needs his more advanced Mangekyo to suppress it. Damn guy, dare to ignore me. Seeing that all the ninjas found their opponents, but his own side was left alone, Miyamoto Chuan's expression turned cold. Oh, I forgot about you. Ishida Sora raised his brows and said lightly. Then I saw a golden portal in the sky open, and an illusory figure descended. As soon as that figure appeared, a strong sword intent appeared all over the sky, and that sword intent made Miyamoto very nervous. The person who came was none other than Zhanling Yui Chungtsuan, who possessed Kage-level strength. 72. As soon as Chungtsuan Yui appeared, He immediately attracted the attention of all 50. Even the warriors guarding the city walls hundreds of meters away could not help but widen their eyes. What a strong sword intent! Was it released by the Admiral Army? No, I've seen the sword intent of the Admiral Army, and it's not so strong at all. This kind of breath seems to have cultivated the sword to the ultimate. Some successful warriors in the city rushed out one after another, and they were all taken aback when they saw the figure falling rapidly from the sky. They have never felt such a strong sword intent in a person, not even their Admiral Miyamotogawa. Yui Chungtsuan reached the top of the treetop, and people could see his figure clearly. Who the hell is that? Could it be the holy sword Tao that has been hidden for decades? Although I don't know who it is, but if I can worship him as my teacher, no, even if I can teach him 2 moves, I will definitely have a greater breakthrough in my swordsmanship. Some people looked at the figure of Yui Chungtsuan, and some were eager to try. Extreme Ghost Sword Technique. As the awakening skill of the Juggernaut profession, as the name suggests, it has already cultivated Ghost Sword to ultimate. The sword intent it masters is naturally also called ultimate. From complex to simple, from simple to complex is just a thought. Even if there is only one move, Yui Chungtsuan can evolve thousands of times. As Ishida Xinkai is a war spirit transformed with the power of the gods, he does not need to be familiar with it like Ishida Sorikari. The abilities acquired by the war spirit are already deeply ingrained in his heart, as if he had practiced it himself, and he can use it with ease. Yui Chungtsuan exuded an aura like a sharp sword. Even the people in Umbu in the distance were terrified. Okay, I didn't expect that you also have a top swordsman. When I kill this guy, I will destroy your Ishida family. Miyamotogawa looked at Yui Chungtsuan, but his eyes were full of fighting spirit. As Admiral of the Iron Country, his martial arts concept can be said to be one of the top few people in the Iron Country. Naturally, I didn't want to just pass this opportunity. One hearing Miyamotogawa's words, Yui Chungtsuan's expression turned cold instantly. Dare to insult Master Zuling, die. Yui Chungtsuan, as the second-level battle spirit transformed by Ishida Xinkai, naturally has a level of faith that has reached the 5-body caste. He is very clear that he should have died, and it was the ancestor spirit of Ishida who helped him regain his life and achieved Kage level. He naturally didn't allow anyone to have the slightest idea of threatening Ishida's family. After finishing speaking, lightly pressed the palm on the left sword hilt. This is the weapon that Ishida Xinkai spent 300 points of divine power to exchange for him after the tribe performed a large-scale incense sacrifice. Double Dragon Shadow Sword. The lightsaber exclusive to the Sword Soul profession in Dungeons and Warriors. The attack has a curse effect, which will continue to weaken the vitality of the opponent during the battle. The stronger the user, the stronger the effect. The price is 300 divine power. The next moment, I saw Yui Chungtsuan at the foot, and he was like a dragon crossing the river, rushing straight towards Miyamoto River before he was asleep. Because the speed is too fast, the air is torn apart, and the sound of piercing through the air is like a dragon's roar. So fast. Seeing Chungtsuan Yui, who had reached in front of him in an instant, Miyamoto Chuan suddenly shrank his pupils and exclaimed. At this moment, Chungtsuan Yui had pulled out the Shuanglong Phantom Sword from its scabbard. As the hilt of the sword was unsheathed, it rushed out like 2 red dragons intertwined under the merger, exuding a blood-colored gloomy light, and people couldn't help but wonder, how did the sword shadow, which was as rough as an arm, fit into it? 3-finger scabbard. Advertisement, but Miyamoto Chuan didn't have time to think about this at the moment, because the attack from Yui Chungtsuan had already struck. The dark red sword shadows are like 2 galloping blood-colored dragons, directly attacking Miyamotogawa's vital points. Miyamotogawa had no time to return to defense, so he could only jump backwards. Just escape the sweep of Yui Chungtsuan. But at this time, the top Wu Kai from the capital brought by Yai Bingwen finally reacted. Miyamoto Admiral. With an exclamation, more than 20 warriors quickly jumped towards Yui Chungtsuan. But Chungtsuan Yui was unmoved. Chungtsuan Yui, who missed in one hit, quickly put the Double Dragon Phantom Sword into the scabbard. Everyone could also see clearly that the sword body, which was as thick as an arm, seemed to melt after touching the scabbard, and was quickly swallowed by the scabbard. However, Chungtsuan Yui's palm did not leave the hilt. Then I saw Yui Chungtsuan arching his body like a cooked shrimp, pressing the hilt of the sword with his palm, making a gesture of drawing the sword. This is... Seeing Yui Chungtsuan's posture, everyone was shocked. It's Ai Zhan's starting move. Quickly dodge. Miyamoto Chuan is a martial arts master who has practiced Ai Zhan to a great degree, so he is very familiar with Ai Zhan's starting moves, so he immediately shouted and reminded everyone. Miyamotogawa's reminder fell into everyone's ears, and everyone was taken aback and hurriedly wanted to stop. But Chungtsu and Yui revealed a disdainful smile. Late, slashed through the air. With a low murmur, Chungtsu and Yui quickly pulled the Shuanglong phantom sword out of the scabbard, and that pair of blood-colored dragon shadows also appeared again, rushing out of the scabbard, entangled with each other. At the same time, a touch of silver appeared on the blade, and along with Yu Chung Siyuan, Nuo Zhao Zhao, transformed the Sanjiang phantom sword into a semicircle in front of him. The silver color also turned into a crescent-like arc suit. That arc was nothing but the sword energy released by Yui Chungtsuan. After the sword chi was formed, it flew out quickly, and at the same time it flew out, it expanded in a fan shape at a speed visible to the naked eye. The huge sword arc quickly swept across the warriors, then rushed out of the forest, swept across the distant city wall with one finger, and rushed to the sky. Boom! After the sword energy disappeared, the bodies of those warriors were divided into two halves in the air. Then those giant trees were all cut open smoothly, and the whole forest seemed to have their heads cut off, exposing the bare tree trunks neatly. The voice behind it came from the rear, and because of this sword arc, a huge and smooth gap was obliquely cut in the city wall of the capital city of the Iron Kingdom. 73. At this moment, the bodies of the warriors on the walls of the capital city of the Iron Kingdom were trembling, and their foreheads were covered with cold sweat. In the distance, a corner of the city wall and the giant tree in front were cut obliquely to make a smooth cut. The warriors couldn't imagine what would happen to them if the sword marks were swept across them just now. The attack just now, was it from the Admiral Army? Ishida's house is in danger. Sanchuan, who was ordered to stand guard on the city wall, glanced at the gap in the city wall in the distance, and at the fallen tree, and couldn't help but secretly said a little nervously, "What kind of battle is this? No, I'm going to see it. It must be the Admiral Army, because of the strength of the general. If I can watch the battle, my strength will definitely improve." A group of warriors reacted quickly. Although they were both shocked and confused, they couldn't sit still when they thought of the battle of the strong. At first, like making dumplings, they jumped onto the branches in front of them one after another, and rushed towards the direction where the sword energy came from just now. And at this moment on the battlefield, the commotion caused by Yui Chungtsuan smashing through the sky and drawing his sword was undoubtedly huge. Even Umbu and the ninja warriors of Ishida's family, who were fighting in the distance, all backed away, looking at the smooth, plane-like break all the way in amazement. 293 just now. Is that really the power of a sword? Ishida Meimeng's eyes widened. He knew his with style very well. Although it is with style, but because of the injection of chakra, coupled with his exercise during this period, the hardness has surpassed that of ordinary forest wood. Even ordinary flames are difficult to burn it. But under the sword energy, the sea of trees he made was cut off easily like paper, which was undoubtedly a huge stimulus for him. It seems that my strength is still not enough. Sighing, Ishida Meimeng thought inwardly. Ishida Meimeng was really complacent because he suddenly turned from a good-for-nothing in people's mouths to a top jonin. But looking at the current situation, his pride in his heart was hit quite a bit. Whoosh! You be asterisk 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 D. Miyamoto Chuan fell to the ground, smelling the strong smell of blood from the corpses of the warriors he brought in the air. His complexion was a little pale. At the same time, Miyamoto Chuan was a little scared. If the arc of the sword, Abba, had been slightly lower just now, he would have been decapitated. The next moment, Miyamoto Chuan looked at Yui Chungtsuan, who was in front of him with disdain, and his complexion turned green. "Go to hell with me!" Miyamoto yelled violently. Miyamoto Chuan directly released his famous stunt, Juha-jan. The samurai sword was drawn from his waist, and an arc of light also appeared instantly. The next moment, he had already rushed in front of Yui Chungtsuan. It is also arc-shaped silver sword energy, but it is much smaller than the piercing sword slash released by Yui Chungtsuan just now. Advertisement: Yui Chungtsuan's piercing sword, slashed with an arc length of more than 100 meters. But Miyamotogawa's sword arc is only more than 20 meters. However, compared to the size of a normal person, it is already considered a very powerful sword energy. Why doesn't this guy dodge? Seeing the sword energy flying out, Saratobi Xiangri, who had just gained a chance to breathe in the distance, felt a little puzzled. In his opinion, although the mysterious samurai is very strong, Miyamotogawa is also a figure comparable to a shadow of a village. With such a powerful sword energy, Even a shadow of a village has to face it seriously and arrange defensive measures in advance. As a sword master, Chungsuan Yui has already comprehended the way of the sword to the ultimate level, and the next step is likely to be a deeper divine sword technique. So in the face of Myamatagawa's attack, there is an attitude of joking about newcomers. Facing the frightening sword energy, Yui Chungsuan just placed the blade on his chest at an angle. Extreme ghost sword technique steel slashing style. The cold sword intent instantly smashed the lightsaber and Chungsuan Yui's entire body. What? Miyamoto Chuan looked at Yui Chungsuan, and his pupils shrank suddenly. He looked at Yui Chungsuan, as if he saw Yui Chungsuan, and the bloody phantom lightsaber in his hand turned into a peerless sword that had gone through thousands of tempers. Swish! Yui Chungsuan lowered his arms, and simultaneously put the Shuanglong Yingjian in his hands, forward along with his wrists. The bloody ray of light just landed on the sword energy in front of him. With his own understanding and mastery of kendo, Yui Chungsuan directly tapped on the opponent's sword intent, instantly breaking the support of Chakra's sword intent. In an instant, the originally menacing silver sword energy turned into a chakra storm and quickly dissipated. How is this possible? The sword style that the Admiral Army has soaked in for many years has been broken. The warriors who just came from the city wall happened to see this scene, and all of them trembled in disbelief as they looked at the man in gray and white clothes who seemed to be only about 10 years old in front of him. You know, to be able to become the Admiral Army of the Iron Country, martial arts can be said to be the pinnacle of the Iron Country, and what kind of person has the most thorough understanding of kendo? And this person in front of him was able to forcibly decipher the sword intent of their Admiral Army through his sword intent. How terrifying is this? Look at his hand. The sword intent is already attached to his hand. Suddenly, a sharp-eyed warrior noticed the white color on Yui Chungsuan's hands, which looked as if he was wearing a pair of white gloves. But when he looked carefully, he could find that it was almost an extremely powerful sword intent to protect the warrior. You must know that most warriors nowadays can only release their swords accidentally, but the opponent has been able to weave the sword intent into their hands for protection. That is to say, the level of the sword intent contained in the opponent's hand alone is already they couldn't understand it anymore, and this greatly stimulated the warriors who came to watch the battle. This is impossible. How could you have such a strong sense of seeing? Who are you? Why have you never heard of it? Hearing those samurai's words, Miyamoto Chuan also reacted. The kendo that he had practiced all his life was easily broken by the opponent, and for a while, Miyamoto Chuan almost fell into madness. Yui Chungsuan just looked at the other party coldly. Before he arrived, he had already received the order from Master Zoling to kill all the Miyamoto family. Yui Chungsuan raised his sword and pointed forward. In an instant, Ling Lai's sword intent quickly gathered together, and then turned into 24 different swords suspended around Miyamoto River. Extreme Ghost Sword Technique, Storm Style. 74. The samurai of the Iron Kingdom watched from a distance that the sword intent turned into 24 sword-shaped phantoms, and his heart twitched in fright. They never thought that someone could pursue the way of swords to such an ultimate. What a strong sword intent. What does he want to do? Seeing those phantoms of swords trap Admiral Officer Bin Chuan in it, a samurai asked with staring eyes. I don't know, but I always feel that the Admiral Army is in danger. Looking at the cold sword intent ahead, those warriors were all nervous, but none of them had the courage to approach. Even the samurai who had thought of coming over to ask for advice on 1.5 moves were all discouraged. I also want to ask for advice. If the opponent stabs with a sword, I may not even have a chance to dodge. An extremely powerful sword intent has never appeared before in the entire history of the Iron Country. If this person can stay in the country of iron to teach the way of swordsmen, I am afraid that the whole country will be crazy. 21 Looking at you, Chungsuan's voice. Some warriors even forgot the identity of the opponent's enemy and couldn't help whispering inwardly. At this moment, the strong sword intent turned into phantom swords. 12 were suspended in the air, and another 12 pierced into the ground, forming a cylindrical sword array, trapping Myamatagawa in it, and Myamatagawa, who was in it, had never felt such a strong sword intent, and even the air seemed to become sticky, which even made him, who is Admiral of the Iron Country, feel unbelievable. It's an illusion. It must be an illusion. It is impossible for someone to have such a powerful sword. Miyamoto Chuan couldn't believe that what was in front of him was real, so he couldn't stop shaking his head to persuade himself that he had fallen into an illusion. The figure of Chungsuan Yui suddenly disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already in the sword formation. Yui Chungsuan squatted and stabbed above the sword formation. The weapon in Chungsuan Yui's hand also changed, The phantom lightsaber that was originally entangled by the twin dragons disappeared, replaced by a dagger that was only as long as an arm. A sword light swept across the sword array. Miyamoto Chuan suddenly trembled, looked straight ahead, quickly raised the long blade in his hand, and stepped up. Clang! A sword sound rang out, shaking everyone's spirits. Chungtsu Yui disappeared again, appearing in the lower left corner of Miyamoto River, and the dagger in his hand turned into a giant silver sword with gleaming runes. The sword light flashed again. Clang! The sound of collision sounded again, and this time Miyamoto was in a bit of a panic on defense. The position of Chungtsu and Yui also changed again, and the weapon also changed into a bloody long knife. As the sword light continued to flash, and Yui Chungtsu's position is constantly changing, and the speed is getting faster and faster. At the same time, he is condensing various postures in the sword array, including chopping, picking, stabbing, pulling, and so on. Advertisement at the same time. The samurai also found that every time the sword flickered with the opponent, one sword shadow in the sword formation would disappear. In the center of the sword array, one finger was covered by the sword light, making it impossible to see what was going on with Admiral Miyamoto inside. After a series of flashes of light, the last sword appeared in Yui Chungtsu's hand, and the shadows of the other 23 swords emerged, as if they had all merged into Yui Chungtsu's hand. Finally, the center of the golden sword glow exploded. Chungtsu and Yui returned to the tree trunk again. Looking ahead calmly, the light in the sword formation dissipated, and Miyamoto inside had disappeared. Not even a trace left. Seeing this, everyone's heart trembled. The Umbu ninja who was entangled in the distance was even more taken aback. Mission failed. Retreat. As the oldest person in Umbu, Uchiha Kagami immediately saw the situation clearly and shouted, "They are multiple ninjas, and not all of them are Jōnin, but on the opposite side there are 20 Jōnin, and more than 100 Chunin, and there are even 3 strong men who have blood succession limits, plus a Hokage level 1. Samurai, they have no hope of winning at all. If they continue to stay here, they will all be damaged here." As for the samurai from the Iron Country, the eyes that looked at Chungtsu and Yui were astonishing. Uchiha Kagami reckoned that it was not bad for them not to surrender. Sarutobi Hibiki's face is full of unwillingness. If these people can be brought back, the strength of the Senju and Uchiha clans will be further improved, thereby greatly enhancing Konoha's influence. But they never expected that the opponent not only had 20 more Jōnin, but even a Kage-level Kendo master. Before, they were worried that the Ishida family would grow into an uncontrollable existence like the Land of Rain. Don't worry now, because people are already out of control. Want to run? Don't you think it's too late? At this time, Ishida Yudo suddenly laughed. What do you mean? When Uchiha Kagami heard Ishida Yudo's words, his face froze immediately. He knew that this person was a strong man in the blood succession limit, but he was restrained by Ishida Konkari with one finger in the battle just now, and the opponent never made a move. So he wasn't sure what the other party's ability was. At this moment, a scream sounded, and the first Umbu ninja who wanted to withdraw from the battlefield suddenly turned into 2 pieces out of thin air. Then, the second, the third. But any ninja approaching outward seemed to be cut by an invisible sharp blade. Even some Iron Country warriors who were relatively close to the battlefield were cut with deep bone scars. There is a trap. Everyone stand still and don't move. Uchiha Kagami immediately picked up the Sharingan and found that there were actually invisible chakra silk threads in the air, which were stretched tightly, forming a series of thread traps. His expression changed immediately, and he couldn't help but exclaim. At the same time, Uchiha Kagami couldn't figure it out. If it is said that the chakra thread can be tempered very tough, he can understand why the chakra thread can still be as sharp as a blade. If so, what kind of ninjutsu is needed? Just throw chakra out. In other words, these silk threads that form a trap are the opponent's blood succession limit. Uchiha Kagami stared, looking at Ishida Yududeo in disbelief. 75. Mr. Jing, how could it be? Sarutobi Hibiki looked at Uchiha Kagami's state as if something was wrong, so he couldn't help asking. It's a trap. There are chakra threads that are imperceptible to the naked eye. Those threads are very sharp. Others are killed by those threads. Uchiha Kagami took a deep breath and said solemnly. He still can't figure out what kind of blood succession boundary this is, because neither the Uchiha clan nor Konoha has any records at all. What? Hearing Uchiha Kagami's words, those Umbu ninjas were shocked and looked around in horror. If you look carefully, you can indeed see a series of tiny silk threads. They can work their way out if given enough time, but those Ishidas don't, 490, give them much time. Gritting his teeth, Ishida Hibiki made a decision. Mr. Jing, you have Sharingan, you must leave here, and you must report the news here. As Sarutobi Hibiki said, he took out his kunai and looked at the ninja of Ishida's family seriously. The other ninjas also knew that they had escaped without forgetting, and they also pinched out kunai. This place has been filled with traps. If they can't kill all the enemies, they can't escape at all. The only one who can escape is Uchiha Kagami, who owns the Sharingan. Uchiha Kagami hesitated, but thinking of the rise of the Ishida family, if the country of fire doesn't pay attention to it, I'm afraid it will really suffer heavy losses. Thinking of this, Uchiha Kagami didn't say much, even though he was extremely unwilling, but considering Konoha, someone must escape today. After finishing speaking, the Umbu ninja gave up and ran away, and took the initiative to meet the ninjas of the Ishida family. It was a completely reckless way of fighting, so that the servants of the Ishida family could not get close to these Konoha elite ninjas for a while. Ishida Yuto looked at the patriarch without any haste. Found that their patriarch's left pupil was already turning rapidly. He immediately understood what was happening, and then ignored Uchiha Kagami and began to escape. Those warriors from the Iron Kingdom looked at Chungtsu and Yui hanging on the branches in front of them, each with a dignified expression. After all, it was the opponent who killed their admiral. Facing the enemy, the samurai should not shrink back, but the level of kendo shown by the opponent made those samurai feel desperate. Chungtsu and Yui glanced at those warriors, and then rushed into the ninja battlefield in a flash. The speed was so fast that everyone present was shocked again. On the battlefield, every time Yui Chungtsuan appeared, it was accompanied by a bloody sword light. And Jinmong will definitely take away an Umbu ninja wearing a mask. After all, there are too many ninjas in Ishida's family, with continuous attacks. No matter how elite Umbu is, he is not in a hurry to seal, and ninjas who cannot seal are not even as good as samurai. Damn it! Seeing that Kaga-level samurai shamelessly join the battlefield, Sarutobi Hibiki was shocked and angry, immediately abandoning Ishida Maimong in front of him. He went up to Chungtsu and Yui. Fire style fire tornado technique. Advertisement. Sarutobi spouted flames from the mouth of the ringing sun, spinning instantly on the ground, forming a huge flame tornado with a diameter of more than 3 meters, and quickly rushed towards Chungtsu and Yui, which was in front of him, and was involved in it. Although it's very strong, but it's just a warrior. If you get involved in the flames rashly, you will be injured. Looking at Chungtsu and Yui, which was engulfed by the flames, the warrior of the Iron Country said with a serious face in the distance. They don't know how strong the mysterious samurai of the Ishida family are, but they know that if they are involved in the flames, they are not afraid of being burned. However, as the red glow swept across, Yui Chungtsuan rushed out of the flames unharmed. Fine. Looking at Chungtsu and Yui walking out of the flames, not to mention Sarutobi Hibiki and those samurai, even the servants of the Ishida family and Ishida Kukari were startled. For Yu Chungtsuan, whose ultimate sword intent has even transformed into form, and who is also a war spirit, nothing can hurt him except lightning-type ninjutsu. This is what Ishida Xinkai did not tell Ishida Sora at that time. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hibiki couldn't help feeling a little desperate. He couldn't believe what kind of powerhouse he was in front of him. Although fire tornado technique is only a B-level ninjutsu, its power is actually comparable to a large-scale A-level ninjutsu. And the samurai in front of him was able to get out of the zero. Uromo Mamoru didn't say a word. He directly raised his lightsaber and stabbed towards Sarutobi Hibiki. Sarutobi's heart tightened, and he wanted to dodge, but the sword intent seemed to lock him. The speed was extremely fast, and his movements couldn't keep up with his own thoughts. Shwa. The sword light swept across, and Sarutobi Xiangri's chest was pierced, and the vitality quickly dissipated along the blade of the double dragon phantom sword. After everyone cleaned up Umbu's ninjas, Uchiha Kagami escaped from the trap. Run one. The samurai raised their brows and thought to themselves, they actually felt some sympathy for these mysterious masked ninjas. After all, being besieged by a bunch of ninjas and having another super swordsman, one can't help but feel excited. Can't run. As if he heard the words in those warriors' hearts, he said with a sneer, and at some point a short crossbow burning with black flames appeared in his hand, and an arrow shot out quickly. Afterwards, the Ishida family paid no attention to Uchiha Kagami, but looked at the warriors from the Iron Kingdom. Let's go. Slaughter Admiral's military residence in Miyamoto's family, said lightly, Ishida Sorikari said to the tribe. Only then did those 3.2 warriors realize that these guys are enemies of their country. Damn ninja. Do you really think there is no one in our country of iron? A samurai yelled violently, After all, they were about to hit the door, so they naturally had to resist. But as soon as the other party's voice fell, a sword light swept across, and the warrior was decapitated on the spot. After everyone's heart trembled, they quickly looked at Chengsu and Yui. My family is going to destroy the Miyamoto family? Do you dare to stop it? Yui Chengsuin glanced at the samurai, and just said something lightly, which immediately lowered the heads of the samurai who were originally filled with anger. For ninjas and top samurai, even if they are enemies, these people from the Iron Country have completely different attitudes. As for Changsu and Yui, one person and one sword. The warriors of the Iron Country did not dare to say a word.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.